Chapter 2202. Accusations 2. Yi Qingtang deliberated for a moment before realizing that Jing Ze's bloodline had probably awakened at that moment and harmed Zhang Qiqius in return. This was going to be a little troublesome. Zhang Qiqia was from the Shi family. Their family wouldn't let Jing Ze go easily if they found out that he had damaged Zhang Qiqius' bloodline. Given that Jing Ze was from an ordinary family, there was no way he would be able to withstand the family clan's attack. Do you have anything else to say? Dinua scoffed coldly. He had planned to find a way to kick Yi Qing out of the Netherworld Academy, but now that Zhang Qiqius' bloodline was damaged, he was going to take this chance to kick her out immediately. Even though Jing Ze was powerless initially, he wasn't a bad person. But he became cruel and vicious after studying under you. You don't have any morals and shouldn't be allowed in our academy. Yi Qingtang knew exactly what Dinua's intentions were. She didn't plan on staying in the Netherworld Academy for long anyway, and was only here to use the wind-calming pearl. She couldn't leave now. In addition, she didn't want to leave Jing Ze with so much trouble ahead. Since Jing Ze is my student, and he damaged Zhang Qiqius' bloodline, I will take responsibility for it. You dare take responsibility for it? There's no way to heal a damaged bloodline, so how are you going to fix it? Dinua snapped with a cold laugh. She didn't speak up immediately, and looked at Teacher Luo who was standing at the side. I will take responsibility, but before that, I want to know what Teacher Luo meant about me making a mess in the medicine faculty. Dinua scoffed coldly. Teacher Luo frowned slightly, and looked at Yi Qingtang with a displeased expression. Teacher Yi, you wanted to borrow our alchemy lab a few days ago, but when you were rejected, you went to Yun Chen's alchemy lab instead. Isn't that right? That's right, Yi Qingtang said truthfully. Teacher Luo nodded slightly. Seeing her admission, Teacher Luo turned to the vice president and said, Vice President, we don't care if the students want to let others use the alchemy lab. But there's something we can't overlook. With that, Teacher Luo's eyes moved to Yi Qingtang, and his gaze turned sharp. Yun Chen is a student of the medicine faculty, but it's well known how difficult it is for him to improve due to his bloodline. But he suddenly brought over a cypress elixir yesterday, and said that he had made it himself. It was tested by the teachers in the medicine faculty, and we can confirm that it was something that couldn't have been refined by him. Teacher Yi, the medicine faculty has certain rules. To protect Yun Chen, you even gave him someone else's cypress elixir to pass off as his own. We cannot let this pass. Yi Qingtang was angry yet pleased to hear his words. How do you know that it wasn't refined by him? Yun Chen has been in the medicine faculty for many years now, and we are clear on the quality of the elixirs that he can refine. Just last month, he couldn't even refine the bare minimum quality of elixirs. May I ask you how he could possibly improve so greatly in just a month? Teacher Luo asked coldly. Chapter 2203. Tattle 3. Even though the elixir that Yun Chen had brought the day before wasn't perfect, it had already far exceeded his standards, and was on par with that of a skilled alchemist. But he could barely refine mid-tier elixirs just a while ago. It was impossible for someone to improve so much in half a year, let alone half a month. Even though he wasn't good at refining elixirs previously, there was no way he would have done something so shameless. How would he have dared to do something so bold, if not under someone else's guidance? Teacher Luo was certain that Yi Qing was the one messing around behind him. With his personality, there was no way that Yun Chen would be so bold. Everything had started when Yi Qing came into the Netherworld Academy. The vice president felt a headache coming on as he listened to the accusations about Yi Qing. He had let her into the Netherworld Academy because he appreciated the youth's understanding of martial arts, but had never expected so many things to happen in just half a month after he had arrived. Yi Qing, how are you going to explain this? The vice president's expression was complicated. He knew that the lad wasn't a bad person, but there was no way all of this was a coincidence. As Yi Qingtang looked at the determined Teacher Luo, she only said, Teacher Luo, are you certain that the elixir wasn't from Yun Chen? Of course, he said. Yi Qingtang turned to look at the vice president. That's easy to resolve. We have differing opinions since the medicine faculty doesn't believe that it was made by Yun Chun, while I saw him refine it with my own 2 eyes. We can just let him refine another one in front of a few teachers from the medicine faculty. The truth will come to light then. That may sound easy, but Yun Chen's skill level is really low. What if he keeps dragging for time and saying that he can't succeed? Teacher Luo said. I guarantee that he won't fail again. Her words surprised Teacher Luo. The vice president frowned slightly and said, well, leave this matter to the medicine faculty to settle then. They will make a judgment after Yun Chun refines the elixir. If someone really made him pass off something fake as his own, I will make sure to punish him severely. Now that the vice president had spoken, Teacher Luo couldn't say anything else. He just thought that Yi Qing was crazy to suggest such a method of test. They all knew Yun Chen's standards. This so-called teacher was just asking to be humiliated. I will begin preparations immediately. Teacher Luo shook out his sleeves, and after gazing at Yi Qing walked off. He was going to make sure the impudent youth was left with nothing to say. After Teacher Luo left, all that was left was to handle Teacher Di Nua. Teacher Yi, how are you going to settle the matter of Zhang Qiqiu? He said with a cold laugh as he crossed his hands over his chest. Without saying anything more, Yi Qing took out an elixir. Teacher Di Nua, this elixir can heal the bloodline. Give it to Zhang Qiqiu and treat it as Jing Ze's repayment. With that, she stuffed the elixir into Di Nua's hands. Di Nua was stunned. Heal the bloodline? Teacher Yi, what joke is this? What elixir can heal the bloodline? The vice president and Teacher Luo never would have imagined that he would use an elixir to solve this issue. This had to be a joke. Chapter 2204. Accusations 4. I will be in the Netherworld Academy, so you can direct any questions to me. If Zhang Qiqiu comes, you can hand me over to them. I'm saying this because I'm confident in myself, Yi Qing said steadily, as she had prepared the dark yin for Jingze, but hadn't expected it to be used here. Di Nua hadn't expected Yi Qing to be this bold, and his expression was ugly. Since he had already said all this, he would have to pay with his life if anything went wrong. The vice president's gaze turned complicated. Yi Qing, what elixir is this? The dark yin elixir, she said. The vice president frowned. He had never heard of this elixir before. Since he'll still be here, if the elixir doesn't work, he'll let go of all my skill, and Zhang Qiqiu's sure family can do whatever they want with me. How about that? She said without hesitation. Di Nua frowned, not believing what Yi Qing was saying. Di Nua, give the dark yin elixir to Zhang Qiqiu, the vice president said suddenly. Di Nua was stunned. Vice president, don't listen to his words. He is just trying to buy time so that he can take this opportunity to. The vice president raised one hand to interrupt him before he could finish and told Yi Qing. Yi Qing, you will stay with me for the next few days. That would allow him to watch the youth for the time being. Di Nua gritted his teeth, but quickly relaxed. How is it possible for anyone to heal the bloodline? Yi Qing was doomed even if he used the elixir. Without saying another word, Di Nua took the elixir and walked off. Yi Qingtang felt relaxed seeing that the matter had been settled for now. She already knew what the outcome would be. Nevertheless, Vice President, I have no issues with staying here, but please send someone to look after my students, she said. The Vice President nodded and said, Don't worry, no harm will come to you if you have done nothing wrong. I will arrange for them to come here, so that you can teach them over the next few days. The Vice President instinctively liked Yi Qing. He wouldn't have chosen him as a Netherworld Academy teacher otherwise. But the words of the 2 other teachers had made him doubt him slightly. He wanted to keep him here for 2 reasons. One was to ensure there was justice, and 2 was to take this opportunity to see how the youth taught his students. Yi Qingtang breathed a sigh of relief when she heard his words. The vice president sent someone to inform Lei Yan and the other students of their current situation. They had just witnessed Yin Chen being called away, and were extremely taken aback. What was going on? That, we're going over to the vice president's place from today? Lei Yan scratched his head with a complicated expression on his face. Since it's the vice president, there must be a reason for it. But we should still send Qin Feng's medication over, Jing Zhe said kindly. Yun Chun had handed them a bottle of elixir before they left the day before, and told them that Yi Qing had left it behind for Qin Feng. All right, well, go give the medication to Qin Feng. When Yun Chun is back, well, tell him the news, and head over to find boss in the afternoon. Lei Yan agreed with a nod. They didn't think much about it, and merely treated it as a change in the place they would be studying at. Soon after, they headed to the front of the academy, ready to hand the elixir over to Qin Feng. Chapter 2205. Heaven Fire Elixir 1. In the bamboo grove outside the classroom, Qin Feng was kneeling in front of the flower gardens with no expression. Yi Qing had asked him to plant a few seeds previously, and some of them had already sprouted. The little shoots looked extremely green against the soil. While he didn't know the reason, he had felt uncomfortable when Yi Qing had asked him to plant the flowers. But as they slowly grew and the little shoots started breaking through the soil, his tumultuous feelings vanished slowly as well. He began to take care of them meticulously every day, and wanted to see what beautiful flowers the seeds he had planted would grow into. I didn't believe them when they told me, but it seems like you've really been planting flowers, Qin Feng. A familiar voice floated from behind him. Qin Feng raised his brows slightly. He turned and saw Qin Xian, with another 2 boys standing behind him. Turning back quickly, he patted the soil off his hands and got ready to leave. Brother Qin Feng, don't hurry off. Qin Xian stepped forwards and blocked his path. Let go, Qin Feng said coldly. Qin Xian smiled. Why? Is brother Qin Feng embarrassed? You should be. The Qin family's unique talent is hated by all the teachers, and even the new teacher is asking you to just plant flowers. But that's right. Even if the new teacher gives you some advice, it's useless. No matter how hard you try, your power will only regress. You should be doing tasks that suit you, Qin Xian said as he looked at the shoots that had just sprouted. Although Qin Xian's tone was modest, every word cut like a knife into Qin Feng's heart. Qin Xian looked at Qin Feng, wanting to see his angry expression. He used to gaze up at the talented Qin Feng, and now that he was under his feet, it felt great. He wanted to see Qin Feng fall into the soil and never get up again. Qin Xian wanted to be the only talent in the Qin family. But Qin Xian sensed something strange this time. Even though there was annoyance in Qin Feng's eyes, it wasn't the repressed anger from the other day. Hey, what are you doing? Just as Qin Xian was starting to get confused, Lei Yan and the others who had come to deliver the pills saw them blocking Qin Feng and rushed up quickly to his side. In the blink of an eye, Lei Yan, Nangong Lai and the rest were standing in front of Qin Feng, distancing him from Qin Xian. Qin Xian was surprised by the sudden appearance of Nangong Lai. Seeing them rush up to protect him, Qin Feng was also a little stunned. Damn! Qin Xian! Lei Yan looked carefully and realized that the person standing in front of him was Qin Xian. He felt slightly bad. Qin Xian was in the holy venerate 9th heaven and was one step away from the divine lord realm. He had a bad feeling about this. Lei Yan was usually loud but toned down when he saw elite students like Qin Xian. Qin Feng, these are your friends. Qin Xian's eyes swept across them, and his lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Birds of a feather really flocked together. Qin Feng's expression was dark. Chapter 2206. Heaven Fire Elixir 2. Nangong Lai also frowned. Qin Xian was clearly belittling them. Don't worry, I only came here to chat with Brother Feng, Qin Xian said in a condescending manner. He had absolutely zero regard for Lei Yan and the rest. Nangong Lai glanced at Qin Xian and chose to ignore him. Instead, he turned toward Qin Feng. Qin Feng, if you are done for the day, boss wanted us to deliver this elixir to you. Nangong Lai was no fool. The gulf between their powers and Qin Xian's was very wide. If they came to blows, they would be the ones to lose. So he just chose to ignore him. Qin Feng looked dubiously at Nangong Lai. Yi Qing had not bothered about him over the past few days, and he had been left alone in the garden. Why did he suddenly send someone to deliver elixirs to him? Qin Feng, your teacher is pretty good to you, especially preparing elixirs for you. But Don't you want to tell him that elixirs are completely ineffective on you? Ask him to save it and not waste those elixirs. Qin Xian smiled. Ignore him, ignore him. Nangong Lai quietly chanted in his heart, pretending not to hear the ridicule in Qin Xian's words. He grinned as he handed the bottle of elixir to Qin Feng. Qin Xian saw that Nangong Lai and the rest were purposely ignoring his existence. Luckily, he felt that he had enough of mocking Qin Feng for today, and so left with the other two teenagers in tow. Qin Feng looked at the elixir. What kind of elixir is this? Nangong Lai shook his head. Boss didn't say. He just asked us to hand them to you. Don't worry. Any elixir given by boss will definitely be suitable for you. Qin Feng. Why did Nangong Lai sound so optimistic? Qin Feng didn't care either way. He opened the bottle to look at the elixir inside. But the moment he opened the bottle, a wonderful fragrance permeated the air. The fragrance was very calming, as if it could soothe all of one's energy and feelings. Qin Feng was astonished at that fragrance. This scent, he found it rather familiar. Qin Xian, who had been prepared to leave, suddenly halted when he detected that fragrance. Qin Xian, what's the matter? One of the teenagers beside him asked. Qin Xian frowned slightly, subtly sensing that fragrance. Heaven Fire Elixir? Qin Xian had experienced this scent before. It was when Qin Xian and the rest were still children. The previous clan master of the Qin family was tormented by mental demons during his cultivation and nearly suffered from qi deviation. One of the elders at that time took out a pill called the Heaven Fire Elixir and had the clan master consume it. Only then were his mental demons subdued. The Heaven Fire Elixir was very rare. The one in the Qin family's possession. It was only because Qin Zhua had chanced upon it. Since Qin Zhua had gone missing, that Heaven Fire Elixir had become one of the most valuable heirlooms of the Qin family. Qin Xian had only seen it once. Thereafter, although he heard many legends regarding this Heaven Fire Elixir, he had never seen it again. Even within the Netherworld Academy's treasure pavilion, he did not see such an elixir. The Qin family's bloodline was prone to mental demons. This was why elixirs that could resolve mental demons, like the Heaven Fire Elixir, were exceptionally important to the Qin family. Qin Xian had tried his best to get another one of those elixirs, but his efforts had been in vain. Smelling that familiar fragrance again, Qin Xian couldn't help being stunned. Chapter 2207. Heaven Fire Elixir 3, Impossible. How did that teacher Yi get his hands on a Heaven Fire Elixir? Qin Xian frowned suspiciously, but his eyes gleamed when he turned to see the elixir which Qin Feng had already poured onto his palm. That pill was a transparent dark red on the outside with a pitch-black inner core. Qin Xian was completely stunned by that one look. It was really the Heaven Fire Elixir. What kind of joke was this? Qin Xian had personally seen a Heaven Fire Elixir. He knew how rare it was, and only a Grand Master alchemist could refine this. And the recipe for this had already been lost. He thought that the new teacher Yi had just randomly coughed up some elixir for Qin Feng. He never dreamed that he would give Qin Feng the Heaven Fire Elixir, something which Qin Xian himself had long desired. A harsh glint flashed across Qin Xian's eyes. He reached out to snatch the Heaven Fire Elixir from Qin Feng. Qin Feng was still in shock, and didn't realize that Qin Xian had made a move. Lei Yan and the rest didn't know what this elixir was but noticed Qin Xian's movement. However, their powers were far inferior to Qin Xian's. They were unable to stop him. Just as Qin Xian was about to reach that Heaven Fire Elixir, a small figure scurried up Qin Feng's hand. By the time Qin Feng snapped out of his trance, he saw that his elixir had disappeared while Qin Xian was already right in front of him. Beside him, Qin Xian was stunned on seeing that someone else had snatched the Heaven Fire Elixir in front of his eyes. He then noticed a lifelike puppet had appeared out of nowhere, and was now standing on a tree branch. The puppet was holding that Heaven Fire Elixir. Wasn't that the same puppet which Mu Ziying was hugging just now? Did she manage to control that puppet to cut in front of him? Qin Xian, what are you trying to do? Nangong Lai reprimanded after regaining his composure. Damn, he was openly trying to rob Qin Feng. Luckily little senior sister reacted fast enough. Qin Xian narrowed his eyes. Hand over the heaven fire elixir. He did not care about anything else. But this heaven fire elixir was very important to him. Heaven fire elixir? Qin Feng had only suspected it while the rest had no idea what that elixir was. But everyone was dumbstruck after Qin Xian spoke. Damn, that's the heaven fire elixir? Lei Yan's jaw nearly crashed to the floor. That was a true blue Grand Master level elixir. And not every Grand Master alchemist could refine it. Boss was so awesome. He could refine something so otherworldly. The teenagers were all shocked. But they also realized just how dire the current situation was. Qin Xian clearly wanted to snatch that elixir for himself. Qin Xian, this elixir belongs to Qin Feng. What's it got to do with you? Nangong Lai sneered. Qin Xian narrowed his eyes before smiling. Qin Feng is useless now. It is a waste for him to have the heaven fire elixir. He is not worthy of such a precious elixir. What a joke. Our boss refined this pill, so he can give it to whoever he wants. This doesn't belong to your Qin family. Who the hell do you think you are? Lei Yan felt rather confident by the fact that they had more people on their side. Qin Xian's face darkened. Lei Yan was quietly startled. Qin Xian shot his two companions a look. In the very next moment, the three of them attacked in unison. So you're really going to attack us for it? Lei Yan wailed. Chapter 2208. Invitation 1. Qin Feng shot forward first, directly confronting Qin Xian. Lei Yan, Nangong Lai and Jingzhe also charged forward. The bunch of teenagers got into a messy brawl. Little senior sister, leave first. Qin Xian was the most powerful, while Qin Feng was one level below him. It was very difficult for Qin Feng to engage him, and he was soon on the losing end, after just a few moves. The other two youths were also quite powerful. Even though they were outnumbered by the trio of Nangong Lai and his gang, it was an even match. But it would no longer be an even match the moment Qin Xian intervened. The group soon realized things were not looking good for them. Qin Feng was sent flying off with a single smack by Qin Xian. Just as Qin Xian wanted to turn around to pursue Mu Ziying, he realized that she had already disappeared with that puppet of hers. Qin Xian, you got guts. You dare to attack us on campus. Aren't you afraid that the teachers will hear of this and send you to the discipline hall? Nangong Lai glared at Qin Xian viciously as he reprimanded. Qin Xian's face stiffened on hearing the words discipline hall. He immediately had a change of heart and smirked. Qin Feng, just you wait and see. He then left with his companions. Lei Yan and the others were relieved. Their powers were considered the weakest in the Netherworld Academy. Meanwhile, Qin Xian's two companions were quite powerful. Even in a 3-against-2 scenario, they were not at a disadvantage at all. Damn, those scoundrels were really vicious. I must settle this score with them one day. Lei Yan held his bruised eye, gritting his teeth in pain. One of Nangong Lai's cheeks had swelled up, and he looked very pathetic. Jingzhe fared the best, but he also had a gash at the corner of his eye. Qin Feng looked at those teenagers. You guys didn't need to. Brother, what kind of nonsense are you spouting? We are all students under boss. We are a family. Nangong Lai grinned. Qin Feng kept silent, but his eyes gleamed pleasantly. Sometimes, the friendship between youths could be very miraculous. They were at that age where one was full of life and vigor, without much inclination toward lies and deception. You guys better think about what you are going to say to boss tomorrow, Jingzhe muttered in a low voice. The teenagers exchanged looks, their faces all bruised up. For the moment, Yi Qingtang was at the vice president's, but he did not try to make things difficult for the youth. The next morning, Lei Yan and the rest went to find Yi Qing. The vice president had wanted to see how Yi Qingtang's teaching progressed. In the end, those teenagers were standing there in a row, their faces all bruised. The vice president was stunned. Apart from Mu Ziying and Yun Chen, Lei Yan and the rest were all roughed up. Yi Qingtang. They must be doing this on purpose. Boss, let me explain. We wanted to have a friendly sparring session yesterday, but forgot to hold back. Nangong Lai had already thought up an excuse. Yi Qingtang surveyed them with an incredulous look. The vice president cleared his throat. Boss. He glanced at Yi Qing. Why did this form of address sound so kick-ass? Yi Qingtang felt like killing herself. Did these brats come especially to dig her an early grave? The vice president gave a slight shake of his head as he looked at Yi Qing. After instructing the students to continue their cultivation, the vice president went to sit inside his study. Teacher Luo Sheng was standing at the side, watching the vice president's somewhat disappointed expression. Vice president. The vice president raised his hand. Perhaps I was wrong in my estimation. Teacher Luo Sheng sighed softly. The wretched appearance of those brats today was truly dumbfounding. Chapter 2209. Invitation 2. Just as the two were hesitating over whether to let Yi Qing continue at the Netherworld Academy, Teacher Luo from the medicine faculty hurried over. Vice President. Speak. Yesterday, I had Yin Chen refine a new batch of cypress elixirs in front of me. This is the result. Teacher Luo was very agitated and had already placed the bottle of elixirs in front of the vice president. The vice president and Teacher Luo Sheng had no idea why Teacher Luo from the medicine faculty was so agitated. They opened the bottle and looked inside. The two of them were stunned. Yin Chen refined these? Teacher Luo Sheng looked at Teacher Luo incredulously. Teacher Luo nodded. That's right. Several other teachers from the medicine faculty, and I personally watched him refine this. We witnessed the entire process clearly. In fact, we were worried that it was just a fluke, and even made him refine a few more again. With that, Teacher Luo took out the rest of the elixirs. The quality of all those elixirs was the same. They were also the same as the initial ones which Yin Chen had given the medicine faculty. He was a teenager who only had a 10% success rate in refining elixirs. But he managed to improve his rate to 100% in just a short 2 weeks. And the effectiveness of these pills had already far surpassed that of the quality required by the medicine faculty by leaps and bounds. The vice president and Teacher Luo Sheng exchanged looks. Teacher Luo was unable to conceal his excitement. Vice president, I want to see Teacher Yi again. Yi Qingtang was just preparing to ask Lei Yan and his gang what the hell had they been up to yesterday. But before she could say anything, the vice president had come over with Teacher Luo Sheng and Teacher Luo. Yi Qing, Teacher Luo has something to say to you. Lei Yan and the rest looked at Teacher Luo guardedly. When Yin Chen came back this morning, he already told them why he had been called away yesterday. The medicine faculty suspected that Yi Qing was helping him cheat and wanted him to undergo the test again. The teenagers were well aware that the medicine faculty was full of prejudice against their boss. It must be because of those folks from the medicine faculty that boss was being kept at the vice president's. And now, they were coming to stir more trouble for their boss. Yi Qingtang noticed the angry expressions of those brats and felt rather exasperated. Stepping forward, she looked at Teacher Luo. I will tear off his beard if this goon from the medicine faculty dares to make things difficult for boss. Lei Yan growled in a low voice. With the vice president around, the medicine faculty teacher probably wouldn't dare to do anything rash, Nangong Lai said. Mu Ziying's eyes were fixed upon Yi Qing's back. The eyes of her puppet seemed to glint. Likewise, Teacher Luo stepped forward and looked at Yi Qing impassively. Teacher Luo suddenly reached out. Here it comes. This medicine faculty goon wanted to attack boss. Fight him to the death. Just as Lei Yan and the rest were prepared to sacrifice themselves to protect boss, Teacher Luo suddenly grabbed Yi Qing's hand. Teacher Yi, are you interested in joining our medicine faculty? Yi Qingtang, Nangong Lai and the rest were dumbstruck. What was happening? Where was the prejudice? Where was the troublemaking? Teacher Luo, why aren't you acting according to the script? By the side, the vice president and Teacher Luo Sheng were not that shocked. Yun Chen's situation at the medicine faculty had been a very tricky issue, but after being under Yi Qing for just a short while, not only had his problem been resolved, but his elixir refining skills had also improved tremendously. Chapter 2210. Invitation 3. Teacher Luo spoke again. Teacher Yi, I don't know how you did it, but you have been a great help to Yun Chen's elixir refinement progress. I heard that you also have some interest in refining elixirs. Teacher Luo had no idea how Yi Qing managed to stabilize Yun Chen's elixir refinement quality level. But just this point alone was enough to make him feel that he just had to invite Yi Qing to join the medicine faculty. After all, there were all sorts of bloodlines in this world, and many bloodlines had a negative impact on refining elixirs. If Yi Qing had some solution to manage this issue, it would definitely be a boon to the medicine faculty. Teacher Luo wants me to be a teacher in the medicine faculty? Yi Qingtang was calm as she asked in a mild tone. Teacher Luo smiled. Not exactly. Teacher Yi, you seem adept at controlling the negative effects that some bloodlines have on elixir refinement. I wish to have you join the medicine faculty as a warden. The Netherworld Academy also had wardens, but they were on a completely different level than teachers. They only had a slightly higher status than students, and were only in charge of miscellaneous duties around the academy. The faces of Lei Yan and the rest, who were initially shocked by the fact that their boss was going to be poached by the medicine faculty, immediately shifted. They appeared rather conflicted now. Asking their boss to be a warden at the medicine faculty? Teacher Luo must be mad. Teacher Luo appeared oblivious to the looks on the faces of Lei Yan and the rest as he continued. Teacher Yi knows that the teachers in our medicine faculty have to be at least high-level alchemists. Moreover, I heard that Teacher Yi is not an official teacher in the Netherworld Academy. If you accept my invitation and become a warden of the medicine faculty, you can become an official member of the Netherworld Academy. Also, since Teacher Yi is interested in refining elixirs, we can guide you along in your efforts. If Teacher Yi is talented enough, you might even become a real teacher in the future. Teacher Luo's words held no malicious intentions. He was just speaking according to what he understood about Yi Qing's situation. Teacher Luo thought that Yi Qing was interested in refining elixirs, because he heard of her request to borrow an alchemy lab. This was why he was offering this olive branch. If she could resolve the bloodline problem, the medicine faculty would naturally give her a place here. But Yin Chun and the rest nearly spat out blood in anger at his words. Give boss guidance in refining elixirs? You must be joking. What was the current standard of those teachers at the medicine faculty? Which one of them had the right to guide their boss? Even Yin Chun, who was from the medicine faculty himself, looked as grim as if he had just eaten a pile of shit. Teacher Luo's words were like a joke to their ears. A person who could refine Grand Master level elixirs, becoming a warden at the medicine faculty? No other academy would dare to put on such airs in the entire second domain. Yi Qingtang did not give too much reaction on hearing Teacher Luo's words. She just shook her head. Thank you, Teacher Luo, for your kind intentions, but let's just forget about it. Teacher Luo didn't expect Yi Qing to reject him. It should be pointed out that although Yi Qing was called a teacher now, he was not an official teacher of the Netherworld Academy. The academy could kick him out the door at any time. Why? Teacher Luo looked at Yi Qing in confusion. Chapter 2211. Invitation 4. Yi Qingtang smiled. Yin Chen is not my only student. If I go over to the medicine faculty, won't I have to abandon the rest of my students? After all, Yin Chen alone was not enough for her to join the Inter-Academy competition and obtain the wind-calming pearl to leave this domain. Yi Qingtang did not forget that she was a wanted person by the Temple of Paragon, who knew if they were searching all over for her right now. Leaving this domain as soon as possible was more important to her now than anything. The reincarnation of the Holy Lord? She had to distance herself from them as much as possible. Yi Qingtang had her reasons, but the eyes of the little brats filled with hot tears when they heard her words. Extremely touched, they stared at Yi Qing with watery eyes. Yi Qingtang. She tried to ignore those emotional faces. Teacher Luo frowned slightly. He didn't expect Yi Qing to reject him because of this reason. He wanted to continue persuading Yi Qing, but the vice president spoke up. Even if Yi Qing doesn't join the medicine faculty, I am sure he won't just stand by and do nothing if there are other people in the medicine faculty with the same problem as Yin Chen, right? The vice president was looking at Yi Qing as he spoke. Yi Qingtang nodded. After getting this guarantee, Teacher Luo didn't continue pursuing the matter. Anyway, The main appeal of Yi Qing to the medicine faculty was her ability to help out with the bloodline issue. Since she was willing to help, it didn't matter whether or not she joined the faculty. After Teacher Luo left, the vice president gave a few instructions to Yi Qing before leaving with Teacher Luo Sheng. Once they had left, Nangong Lai and the rest surrounded Yi Qing. The medicine faculty folks are just a bunch of fools. Our boss elixir refining abilities are so awesome. But they want him to be warden? Dream on. Lei Yin snorted. Nangong Lai grinned as he hustled over to stand in front of Yi Qing. Boss, you can't bear to leave this group of handsome, dashing, valiant teenagers, right? In response, Yi Qingtang replied with a smack across his face. Stop fooling around. I have instructions for you. Yi Qing's tone was serious. Now that the medicine faculty had been settled, according to her estimations, Zhang Qiqiu should have already ingested the elixir, and his bloodline would recover in a few days. Yi Qingtang was not really too bothered by either of those two things. She had a more pressing issue to settle, and that was to increase the powers of this bunch of brats before the inter-academy competition. I have a list here. Go back and prepare a set each. Remember to inform Qin Feng. Yi Qingtang instructed as she handed copies of the list to the teenagers. Lei Yan and the rest scanned the list and realized that the items on it were rather peculiar. They could not understand why these things were needed. Boss, why do you want us to prepare these items? Nangong Lai realized that the list included a tent. Did boss want them to set up camp at the vice president's? Go back and prepare. In a few days, I will bring you guys out for training, Yi Qingtang replied. She had already made careful calculations. If she wanted to improve their powers to a satisfactory level before the inter-academy competition, it was impossible for them to remain on campus. True powers were honed from real battles, not mere shadowboxing in a practice arena. Chapter 2212. Invitation 5. Yi Qingtang had checked earlier that the Netherworld Academy would arrange training excursions for students outside of the campus every year, led by teachers. So her decision was not against the rules. Training excursion? Boss, where are we going? Flaming Valley? Or? Curious, Nangong Lai listed out several locations. These were all the usual external training grounds frequented by Netherworld Academy students. Yi Qingtang replied, You will know in time. In bringing these brats out for training, Yi Qingtang could also conduct her own training. It would not be a waste of time. There was still no news from Dinua, but Yi Qingtang was not anxious. No news from Dinua was good news. Otherwise, going by Dinua's fervent desire to drive her out of the Netherworld Academy, he would have already kicked up a huge fuss at the vice president's if the elixir was ineffective. Like this, Yi Qingtang peacefully stayed at the vice president's over the next few days, guiding those brats in their cultivation. Time passed day by day. Yi Qingtang still saw no sign of Dinua, but teacher Luo Sheng suddenly approached the vice president one day. He had gone to visit Zhang Qiqiu and discovered that his bloodline had already started to recover. The vice president was also very shocked by the turn of events. But since this confirmed that Yi Qing was not just speaking nonsense, he relaxed and allowed Yi Qing to return to the classroom to teach. That very afternoon, after Yi Qingtang regained her freedom, she led the already prepared Lei Yan and the others out of the academy for their training. Who knew if that scoundrel Dinua would try to stir up more trouble? She did not have that much time to waste on him. Yi Qingtang had just left the Netherworld Academy with those brats of hers when Dinua was summoned by the vice president. How is Zhang Qiqiu's bloodline? The vice president had already heard from teacher Luo Sheng and was relieved, but it was still better to hear the details from Dinua himself. Moreover, the vice president was exceptionally curious about this elixir, which could heal bloodlines. He is slightly more stable now, but has yet to fully recover. Dinua looked rather unhappy. He thought that he could definitely drive Yi Qing out of the Netherworld Academy this time, but he never imagined that she could concoct such an elixir. To say that Dinua was displeased that his plans came to nothing was an understatement. As long as there are results, it is a good thing. The vice president nodded. One corner of Dinua's lip curled up discreetly, But he maintained a serious manner as he spoke. Yi Qing's elixir does have some effect, but this doesn't deny the fact that he allowed his students to commit such a grave offense. Vice President, please reconsider if this kind of person is really suitable to remain in our Netherworld Academy. Since Yi Qing came to the Netherworld Academy, many teachers have been discussing if he has the proper qualifications. Although Zhang Qiqi's condition has improved slightly, he has yet to fully recover. No one knows if he can ever fully recover, the vice president replied. Let's get Yi Qing to come over and ask him if he can fully recover then. Initially, the vice president didn't believe that there were elixirs that could heal bloodlines. But Yi Qing had given him a huge surprise. Di Nua was taken aback by the vice president's words. Vice President, Yi Qing is not here? The vice president replied. After teacher Luo Sheng told me about Zhang Qiqi's improvement today, I allowed Yi Qing to leave first. His students have been missing him. Di Nua's expression underwent a major shift. Vice President, how can you let him leave just like that? What if he flees? Chapter 22:13. Training 1. Even though Yi Qing's elixir was showing some results, Di Nua still did not believe that the elixir could fully heal Zhang Qiqi's bloodline. The vice president smiled. Yi Qing is not a bad person by nature, and Zhang Qiqi's bloodline has improved. Why would he need to flee? With that, the vice president ordered someone to have Yi Qing come to meet them. But after a short while he received some news. Not long after leaving the vice president's quarters, Yi Qing had left the Netherworld Academy. The vice president could no longer maintain the smile on his face. Di Nua had an I told you so look. Vice President, you were too kind-hearted. We don't know Yi Qing's background. He was only in the academy for a short while before stirring up so much trouble. How can you trust someone like him? The vice president frowned slightly. He didn't expect Yi Qing to leave, and he had just started to place his trust in the youth. Not only had Yi Qing left the Netherworld Academy, but she had also brought Lei Yan and the rest along with her. This situation had gone beyond the vice president's expectations. Yi Qing's departure could be explained by a guilty escape from his offense. But bringing along that bunch of teenagers? What did that mean? Vice President, Yi Qing is not an upright person. Those students were seduced and controlled by him. Who knows what kind of dire incident would come out of that? I advise Vice President to immediately send out men to capture Yi Qing back to the academy. Independently leaving the academy with his students in tow. And at a time like this, one truly couldn't help thinking there might be something nefarious behind his actions. Although the Netherworld Academy already wanted to kick those students out, before that officially happened, they were still a part of the academy. If they created any trouble outside, wouldn't it be a smear on the Netherworld Academy's reputation? The vice president realized the gravity of the situation, and he couldn't help giving a soft sigh. I will let you handle this matter. Di Nua immediately nodded. Yes. With that, Di Nua left. Within half an hour, the Netherworld Academy issued a warrant for Yi Qing. Meanwhile, Yi Qingtang and her group had already started their training journey, and had no idea what was happening. How could Yi Qingtang have been aware that leading a training excursion for those few brats would end up being twisted into a scenario where she had seduced those students, and she was now on the wanted list? In reality, there was no problem for teachers leading their students out of the campus for training, but they had to report it first. Yi Qingtang had never been a teacher, and had no idea about such regulations. Moreover, since Yi Qingtang was not an official teacher, and didn't have the right to lead students out on a training excursion, Yi Qingtang did not know any of this. At this moment, she was leading those teenagers past the mountains toward her destination. Where is boss bringing us? This route seems different from the usual ones. Lei Yan surveyed the surroundings, which were growing increasingly barren. He looked very curious. Amongst them, only Qin Feng had gone outside for a training excursion led by a teacher. Lei Yan couldn't help looking at Qin Feng after that fight with Qin Xian. The relationship between the teenagers had become much more harmonious. Especially for Qin Feng. At least, Lei Yan was not as fearful of Qin Feng as before. Qin Feng replied to Lei Yan, with just a slight shake of his head. How in the world would he know where Yi Qing was taking them? This teacher's way of thinking was quite different from most teachers. Chapter 22:14. Training 2. They were all Paragon 6th heaven level and above, and were able to easily travel at high speeds. Even so, they had already journeyed for several days and nights, and had yet to arrive at Yi Qing's so-called training grounds. Yi Qing also refused to tell them where they were going. The teenagers' curiosity grew increasingly intense. Until the 10th day, the teenagers were finally led by Yi Qing to the outside of a gray forest. The sight made the teenagers all turn pale. Looking at that gloomy forest, Lei Yan could feel all his hair standing straight up. The plants in this forest were exceptionally queer. He couldn't see any bit of green. It was all gray as if it had lost all color. They were standing on the outside of the forest, but could already feel the subtle death energy and bitter cold intertwined with the dense fog enveloping the place. It was like they were going to step into some deadly ghost realm, somewhere that did not belong to the mortal world. Has B-Boss gone mad? This is the evil soul forest. Lei Yan stammered. At this point, his face looked even worse than if he had been crying. The expressions of the other teenagers were just as terrible. Only Jingzai and Mu Ziying looked befuddled. They had never heard of the evil soul forest. The evil soul forest. What is this place? Jingzai looked at the frightened Lei Yan doubtfully. The corners of Lei Yan's lips twitched as he looked at Jingzai, as if he was a monster. You don't know about the evil soul forest? Jingzai nodded quietly. Lei Yan hesitated, not knowing how to explain to Jingzai and Mu Ziying. At this moment, Yi Qing's voice rang out. The evil soul forest used to be a normal forest, but tens of thousands of years ago, a battle between deities and demons occurred here. Legend had it that a fiend celestial died in this forest. His life energy dissipated, but the remnants of his divine consciousness remained. The fiend celestial's divine consciousness guided all the souls in the second domain to gather here. All the living creatures in this forest were devoured by those souls, transforming this place into a forbidden area. Any living creature who steps foot into this forest will be cursed by the fiend celestial's divine consciousness, and then ripped to pieces by the countless souls here. Yi Qing's voice was soft and flat, as if narrating an ancient tale to innocent little children. Lei Yan was already covered in goosebumps. By the side, Nangong Lai also looked very grim. He rubbed the goosebumps on his arms. Boss, don't tell me you want us to train in the evil soul forest? Yi Qingtang turned to look at Nangong Lai, whose face was filled with disbelief. Under his despondent gaze she nodded. Congratulations, you've guessed correctly. Nangong Lai felt like crying. Could he beg for another chance to answer? Boss, just tell us if you are unhappy about anything, or if we displeased you in any way. Why don't you just lash us a couple of times instead? Why so much hatred? Why so vengeful? Why send them into the evil soul forest? This was a major forbidden area in the domain. Boss, please have mercy. We cannot enter such a place. Lei Yan just wanted to run as far from this evil soul forest as possible. Qin Feng and Yin Chen also looked conflicted. Meanwhile, Jingzai and Mu Ziying had never heard of the evil soul forest before, and so didn't have much of a reaction. Chapter 22:15. Training 3. Scared? Yi Qing asked them with raised eyebrows. For the sake of their lives, Lei Yan and Nangong Lai set aside their dignity and immediately nodded. They would do anything. Anything. Just don't make them enter the evil soul forest. Yi Qingtang smiled. In her previous life, she had never set foot in this domain. But the reputation of the evil soul forest had spread to other domains. All of the descriptions were exceptionally terrifying. Yi Qingtang had been very respectful and fearful of this place. But after she happened upon a certain adventurer in her previous life, she finally discovered the truth behind this evil soul forest. I forgot to tell you that the Fiend Celestial's curse is not limited to the inside of the forest, but includes a 1-mile radius surrounding it, Yi Qingtang said with a serious face. The moment she said those words, Lei Yan and Nangong Lai were thunderstruck. Even Qin Feng and Yin Chen's faces underwent a major shift. 1 mile? They were less than 100 meters away from the Evil Soul Forest. Didn't this mean they were already cursed by this place? Once you are cursed, you won't be able to evade it even after fleeing far from the Evil Soul Forest. You guys have already been marked by that fiend celestial. No matter how far you run, those souls will find you and kill you. Lei Yan's face turned pale, and his legs trembled non-stop. The others reacted just as badly as him. Boss, what hatred, what grievance? Lei Yan felt like crying. Looking at Lei Yan's face, Yi Qingtang suppressed her mirth. Actually, there's a solution. As long as you guys can survive 100 days inside the Evil Soul Forest, the curse will naturally dispel on its own. 100 days. Those teenagers really felt like dying. But Yin Chen's expression eased up a little. He looked at Yi Qing with a sudden incredulity. The Evil Soul Forest had a fearsome reputation. No one would dare to risk their own lives. The Fiend Celestial's curse, it was really lethal. All right, since we have arrived here safely, let us work hard together and survive in this place for 100 days. A bright grin was on Yi Qing's face. It was like she did not see the mournful faces of those teenagers. They had been wrong. Utterly wrong. They had been blinded and thought that their boss was warm and tender. But he was a demon. It was too late to try and run now. They could only acknowledge their fate. Under Yi Qing's lead, the teenagers stepped into the foggy, gray forest with determined hearts. The expansive ground of the Evil Soul Forest was covered with thick layers of withered leaves. Goodness knew how many layers of dead leaves were there. The layers felt exceptionally soft beneath their feet, and some parts were also damp. Before long, Lei Yan felt dampness in both his feet. His shoes were already soaked with an unknown liquid. That chill crept from the bottom of his soles right up to his spine. Lei Yan was not that bold. He could swagger around the academy, only because he was part of the Lei Tang family. Now in this godforsaken place, all the hairs on his body were standing on end. He had no idea what he had just stepped on. Lei Yan suddenly felt like something was grabbing his leg. With a wail, he leaped into the air and clung onto Yi Qing like a sloth. Yi Qing was nearly crushed by this burly teenager. Well, what's that? It's a ghost. A ghost. Lei Yan wailed. Chapter 22:16. Spy Cloud 1. Speechless, Yi Qing looked down at Lei Yan, whose leg was caught on a tree branch. Lei Yan turned to look before awkwardly climbing down from Yi Qing's body. You're afraid of ghosts? Yi Qing looked at Lei Yan incredulously. The question made Lei Yan feel like burying his head in his chest. Yi Qing. My goodness. There were all sorts of alien races in the second domain, their numbers on par with that of the human population. Apart from the undead clan, and those other races associated with death, there was also one called the Ghost Clan. The Netherworld Academy had people from the Ghost Clan. Although they were different from those ghosts that you heard of in stories, Lei Yan had been in the Netherworld Academy for so long that he must have encountered some folks from the Ghost Clan. But he was afraid of ghosts. Yi Qingtang quietly shook her head as she looked at the tall, burly Lei Yan. It turned out his burly stature was just for show. Yi Qingtang and her group traveled in the Evil Soul Forest for a long time. They suddenly heard a faint, strange noise drifting over from somewhere nearby. Lei Yan had been crouching the entire journey, feeling a desperate urge to just climb onto Nangong Lai's back. On the contrary, the youngest of them all, Mu Ziying, showed no fear. Instead, she surveyed the spooky environment with wide, curious eyes. Can you please stop clinging on to me? Do you know how heavy you are? Nangong Lai was feeling suffocated by Lei Yan. Lei Yan's face was green. No matter how much Nangong Lai scolded him, he refused to loosen his grip. You are a big man. What are you afraid of? This godforsaken place has been desolate for such a long time. Even if there were souls here, they would have already disappeared with the wind. Can you please calm down? Nangong Lai said. Really, dazed with fear, Lei Yan looked at Nangong Lai with skeptical eyes. Really? Even more real than real gold? Nangong Lai rolled his eyes. He had also been quite scared initially, but on seeing Lei Yan's foolish antics, he suddenly didn't feel that afraid anymore. Still skeptical, Lei Yan finally loosened his grip slightly. Before Lei Yan could calm down, A sudden shriek sounded out from nearby. It was an ear-piercing shriek. Thereafter, a strange bestial roar rang out. No one could tell what kind of beast it was from that roar. It was full of power, but also somewhat illusory. What was that noise? Lei Yan was stupefied. Yi Qingtang did not react to that shriek, but her eyes glinted after that beastly roar. Before those greenhorn teenagers could understand what was going on, the thick stench of blood permeated the air. A figure was sprinting toward them. Help, help! Save me! Noticing Yi Qingtang and her group, the person, who had been dashing here and there, immediately raced toward them like they were his final hope. What's going on? There are humans here? Nangong Lai didn't expect to see humans in the Evil Soul Forest. Wasn't this place a forbidden area? He looks like someone from Spy Cloud. Qin Feng narrowed his eyes. Spy Cloud was a mysterious faction in the second domain. This faction had only one principle: money above all. They were a faction that was only concerned with profits. Spy Cloud members were spread across all corners of the second domain. As long as you could pay, Spy Cloud would do anything for you and help you attain anything you wanted. Chapter 22:17. Spy Cloud 2. When Qin Feng was young, he had once seen an elder hire someone from Sky Cloud, so he knew what this faction was like. Let alone the emblem of Sky Cloud was stitched onto the chest of the person's clothes. It was rumored that as long as one offered enough money, there was nothing Sky Cloud could not do. Even so, Qin Feng did not understand why someone from Sky Cloud would come to the Evil Soul Forest. In the blink of an eye, the person had arrived in front of Yi Qingtang and her group. The person was so frightened that his face was pale as a sheet of paper. His clothes were covered with fresh blood stains, and his eyes were crazed. He was like a madman, and one of his legs seemed to be injured. Limping, he left behind a trail of blood wherever he went. He looked like he was in his early 30s, but his appearance was extremely wretched now. Help! Help! That person looked at the group of living humans, as if they were his saviors. He threw himself toward Yi Qingtang, who was in the lead, his widened eyes filled with terror. At this point, Nangong Lai and the rest suddenly realized that he was missing one eye. It looked like someone had just gouged out his left eye. All that was left was a dark, bloodied hole. Dead, all dead, everyone is dead. A monster killed them. The man was in a frenzy and tears of blood flowed out of his eye socket. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. The hairs on Lei Yan and the rest all stood on end on hearing the words of the man. Monster? What monster? Boss, let's escape now. Lei Yan hurriedly spoke up. But before Lei Yan could finish his words, that strange beastly howl rang out again in the Evil Soul Forest. In the next second, a massive black figure weaved through the dense forest, rapidly charging toward them. That black figure was extremely bizarre. It was pitch black as if it was a big mass of sludge. All the plants which came into contact with it seemed to merge into its body, before reappearing again after it passed. Ghastly wails followed the black figure, as it came closer and closer. What is that? Lei Yan's heart leaped nearly to his eyes on seeing that massive black figure. Night Soul Beast. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes as she stared at the large black mass. What is a night Soul Beast? Lei Yan was stunned. A servant of the Fiend Celestial. It was born from all the gathered resentment of grievous souls. It eats human souls as food. Yi Qingtang explained impassively, but Yi Qingtang didn't tell them one additional point. And that was the Night Soul Beast especially loved souls that were filled with terror and despondency. Souls filled to the brim with negative feelings were the best delicacy for this Night Soul Beast. Thus, when a Night Soul Beast hunted, it would try its best to force someone to the edge of despair. Run, hurry up and run. That Night Soul Beast killed over 100 people from my team. It is a monster. The man from Spy Cloud wailed fearfully. He gripped Yi Qingtang's arm in a begging manner, praying that they would bring him along and escape far away. Lei Yan and the others looked even grimmer, especially Qin Feng. He had some knowledge about Spy Cloud and knew that they would definitely send a strong contingent into a place like this. But all that was left of them was this man. Boss, let's run now. Lei Yan cried in panic. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. It's too late. Chapter 2218. Spy Cloud 3. Several people were taken aback. What? Yi Qingtang looked at the gradually approaching Night Soul Beast. At this distance, the Night Soul Beast has already detected the scent of our souls. Once a Night Soul Beast locks onto you, it will keep following the scent of your soul until it finds you and swallows your soul. Your team was not familiar with the Evil Soul Forest. It is very foggy, and it is inevitable that you will get separated when fleeing. Those who were separated from the main group would definitely die. Yi Qingtang spoke impassively. The Night Soul Beast came this way, as it had been pursuing after the Spy Cloud Man. But now they were all within its detection. They had to flee out of the Evil Soul Forest before the Night Soul Beast caught up with them. But the Night Soul Beast's speed was faster than any human. They were born from souls, and there were souls everywhere in the Evil Soul Forest. Mewing, swallow this elixir. Yi Qing stuffed a pill into Mewing's mouth. Yin Chun, protect Mewing. The rest of you follow me. Everyone was stunned by Yi Qing's orders. Even the man was stunned. What are you guys doing? Are you all mad? You won't be able to defeat it. There were over 100 people in my team, and they all died in the hands of that Night Soul Beast. Even a Divine Lord level practitioner was no match for it. You are just hurrying to your death. The man believed this bunch of people must have gone mad. The most powerful amongst them was just a Paragon 8th Heaven level. Most of the others were just 6th or 7th Heaven level. How could this group of kids hope to fend against a Night Soul Beast? Yi Qingtang ignored the man's cries. She immediately arranged for what Lei Yan and the rest should do next. Lei Yan had been somewhat afraid, but after hearing Yi Qing say that he had already been locked on by the Night Soul Beast, and it was either him or the beast, his mind immediately cleared up. In just the blink of an eye, Yin Chun covered Mu Ziying protectively while she swallowed Yi Qing's pill. A strange glint flashed across her eyes. Meanwhile, the Night Soul Beast had already arrived before Yi Qingtang and the rest. It was massive, but even more terrifying was that after it came near, Nangong Lai and the group realized this Night Soul Beast's body was just a half-transparent mass of murky, viscous liquid. And through the translucent parts of its body, the twisted faces of people floated about. They were the souls swallowed by the beast. Yi Qingtang didn't expect to meet a Night Soul Beast so soon after entering the Evil Soul Forest. Even so, Yi Qingtang was not anxious at all. She quietly gestured for Nangong Lai, Lei Yan, Jing Zhe and Qin Feng to hide in their own corners. Meanwhile, she charged to the front to attract the beast's attention. So painful. Save me. The souls swallowed by the Night Soul Beast emitted mournful cries. The hairs of Lei Yan and the rest all stood on end as they observed the souls swirling endlessly inside the Night Soul Beast's body. The Night Soul Beast's attention was all focused on Yi Qingtang now. The black mass suddenly churned wildly. In the next second, countless black hands shot out from the Night Soul Beast's body, heading straight toward Yi Qingtang. The hearts of Lei Yan and the rest surged up to their eyes at the sight of those countless hands. Chapter 2219. Night Soul Beast 1. Close your eyes. Yi Qing suddenly shouted. Lei Yan and the rest, who were all hiding, were slightly taken aback. Although they had no idea why Yi Qing was ordering them to do so, they instinctively obeyed her instructions and immediately shut their eyes. Observing Yi Qing's actions and the mass of hands looking like one huge black net, the Spy Cloud Man felt that Yi Qing must be crazy. He could see that Yi Qing was the weakest person in that group. But not only did he not flee, he charged forward. Close your eyes? Close your eyes and wait for death. Perhaps the Spy Cloud Man had already witnessed too many companions die before him. It was like he had already foreseen Yi Qing's imminent death. He shut his eyes in resignation. This bunch of folks were mad. Not fleeing at the sight of the Night Soul Beast, he would probably also die here. Everyone shut their eyes according to Yi Qing's order. Yi Qingtang was the only one who continued staring coldly at the countless hands surging to her. Her eyes were calm without even the slightest sliver of panic. The endless wails of those souls swallowed by the night soul beast continuously assaulted her ears. Yi Qingtang's view of those hands was different from what the others saw. As those hands approached her, Yi Qingtang remained unmoving on the spot. Just as those hands were about to make contact with her, they suddenly passed right through her. She was completely unharmed. Illusion. Yi Qingtang gazed impassively at those illusory hands. In her previous life, it was already 200 to 300 years later when Yi Qingtang heard of the evil soul forest. By then, the mystery behind this forest had already been solved by people. Those fearsome-looking night soul beasts were a type of demon, a demon formed by the gathering of tens of thousands of grievances and resentment. The more one feared it, the more powerful they became. A person's fear and terror at seeing a night soul beast would make the beast even more fearsome. The night soul beast was born from the resentment of grievous souls and relied on their power. The more afraid you were of it, the more it could sense the fear in your heart, the more powerful it would be. If you were not afraid of it, it could not use your fear to support its form. At this moment, everyone had shut their eyes and could not see the night soul beast. Their fear and thoughts about the night soul beast had been cut off. Yi Qingtang was the only one who could see it, and without any fear or regard. Like this, the massive night soul beast was only seen by Yi Qingtang. Its huge, heinous form started to melt. This human was not afraid of it. The night soul beast could not feel Yi Qingtang's fear. Her inner mind was exceptionally calm, and this was not a pleasant sight for the night soul beast. Suddenly, the souls in the night soul beast's body emitted a fresh round of wails. Those wails, sounding as if they were coming from the depths of hell, drifted over to the ears of everyone. Lei Yan and the others stiffened in fear at those wails. But they suddenly heard Yi Qing's voice. "Keep your eyes closed. Cover your eyes." The group did not understand Yi Qing's orders, but they followed her instructions and covered their ears, completely isolating themselves from the evil soul forest. See no evil, hear no evil. The fear inside their hearts transformed into worry instead. The night soul beast became increasingly furious. It realized that the fear it had been sensing was declining. Despite the constant wailing of those souls, its body started to shrink at a discernible pace. Chapter 2220, Night Soul Beast 2. After confirming that everyone's ears were covered, the corners of Yi Qingtang's lips suddenly lifted in a slight smile. She gazed at the shrinking night soul beast. Night soul beast, born from grievances, surviving by swallowing souls, the source of your power is fear. But now, you don't seem to have any fear to swallow. Yi Qingtang's voice was unhurried and calm. The night soul beast's originally massive body had now shrunk into human height. And it was continuing to shrink. The night soul beast was shocked. It had never met a human like this. She was not afraid of it at all. Impossible. And Yi Qingtang's words shocked the night soul beast even more. This human knew their secret. No matter how many people entered the evil soul forest, fear crept into their hearts the moment they saw them. And the more people there were, the more fear would accumulate, and the more powerful the night soul beast would become. That was why it had become the notorious terror of the evil soul forest, a demon that could never be defeated. But now, the unfearing Yi Qingtang was the only one left in front of the night soul beast. The others had shut off their senses according to Yi Qingtang's instructions. Fear was the power source of the night soul beast. Yi Qingtang had cut off its power source, and the night soul beast shrank more and more. In the blink of an eye, it had melted down into a cat-sized shape. So this is the night soul beast's true form. Yi Qingtang looked at the small night soul beast curiously. The night soul beast looked more or less like a black cat. But a pair of gray horns sprouted out from beside its ears, and it looked rather strange. The night soul beast had never seen such a daring human. Recalling all the humans it had encountered before, all of them had been scared out of their wits the moment they saw it. Even the most powerful could not conceal the fear in their hearts, which only made the beast stronger. But where did this fellow come from? He was not afraid of it at all. Sensing that Yi Qingtang was different from the other humans it had seen, the night soul beast suddenly turned and headed toward the deeper recesses of the forest. Without fear to nourish it, The more calm the other party was, the weaker it would grow. But there was no way Yi Qingtang would let it go so easily. She had picked the Evil Soul Forest as a training ground, as this place had something very important in her eyes. In a flash, Yi Qingtang captured the fleeing Night Soul Beast. Yi Qingtang had no fear in her heart at all. She calmly examined the Night Soul Beast in her hands. The Night Soul Beast was unable to make use of fear to maintain its form. The originally fearsome Night Soul Beast was now held up in Yi Qingtang's hands like a strange cat. The Night Soul Beast. Yi Qingtang suddenly smiled at the beast. The Night Soul Beast felt like the sky and earth were spinning so hard that it felt like vomiting. It trembled all over. It fed on fear and hated happiness to the core. No fear or panic, only smiles and joy. This was a grievous blow to the Night Soul Beast. Seeing the Night Soul Beast's reaction, Yi Qingtang confirmed that the rumors she had heard were true. Hundreds of years later, several people who desired things from the Evil Soul Forest invaded the forest, and ended up with massive fatalities. One of the men was so struck by fear that he turned into an imbecile. And that imbecile ended up emerging from the Evil Soul Forest carrying a cat-like creature. Chapter 22-21, Night Soul Beast 3. Thereafter, the Night Soul Beast's weakness was made known throughout the entire second domain. The Evil Soul Forest's notorious reputation was dispelled after that. Born from negative feelings, this was a monster who swallowed souls. But it was also an evil being who feared laughter and happiness. If Yi Qingtang did not know of this, she would not have dared to bring Lei Yan and the rest of the brats into this place. She had Lei Yan and the rest split up and hide in separate corners, as she didn't want them gathered together and feed the Night Soul Beast with their accumulated fear. Meanwhile, Mu Ziying was the youngest. Yi Qingtang was worried she might panic due to her young age, and so especially gave her a calming elixir. When dealing with the Night Soul Beast, the most dangerous thing was the fear of others feeding the beast and making it grow stronger. The Night Soul Beast wished to escape from the hands of this strange human, but every time it struggled, Yi Qingtang would smile at it. The smile was a pure one that reached the eyes, making the corners crinkle with joy. That kind of pure happiness was the most detestable thing to a Night Soul Beast. It trembled and suddenly felt drained of all energy by Yi Qingtang's smile. Lei Yan and the others were already prepared to fight to the death with that Night Soul Beast. But after waiting vigilantly for very long, and unable to tell what was happening because their eyes were closed and ears covered, they were filled with worry for Yi Qing. Meanwhile, the Spy Cloud Man, who had been trembling in fear and had shut his eyes just to wait for his death, also waited for a long time, but didn't feel any sense of imminent death. He opened his eyes in panic, only to see the formerly wretched scene had turned extraordinarily calm. That common-looking youth was now standing safe and sound in the forest, holding a horned gray cat. Where is the Night Soul Beast? The man stammered. Yi Qingtang replied, I don't know. When I was fighting it, it suddenly left. The man was dumbstruck. He really couldn't believe that the Night Soul Beast, who had been pursuing him for so long, suddenly just turned and left. Yi Qingtang didn't say anything more, but just went over to pat Lei Yan and the others, who were still standing with their eyes closed and ears covered. The teenagers leaped up in all readiness for a big fight, but realized that it was just Yi Qing before them. They heaved a sigh of relief. Boss, where did that Night Soul Beast go? Lei Yan was still feeling very unsteady. He surveyed the surroundings, but couldn't see the Night Soul Beast. The others were also equally confused. Perhaps it sensed something, it left suddenly, Yi Qing replied casually. The teenagers did not know much about the Night Soul Beast, and so just accepted her explanation. But, boss, didn't you say earlier that the Night Soul Beast would remember our scent and keep pursuing us? Will it suddenly return later? Lei Yan swallowed hard. That's not impossible, Yi Qing replied. Lei Yan's heart leaped up to his eyes again. So you all need to become more powerful before it returns. Otherwise, you will never be able to escape it even after leaving the Evil Soul Forest. Yi Qing lied in all seriousness. It was also a myth that the Night Soul Beast would pursue a human to the ends of the earth. In reality, the Night Soul Beast would never leave the Evil Soul Forest. Of course, Yi Qingtang would never tell them that. Instead, she wanted them to stay alert and motivated to improve their powers in this Evil Soul Forest. Chapter 22-22. Nothing Much 1. Apart from the Night Soul Beast, there were several other demons inside the Evil Soul Forest. Lei Yin and the others could practice on them. But this Night Soul Beast is so persistent. Nangong Lai still felt a lingering fear in his heart. Then he suddenly realized that Yi Qing was holding a strange-looking cat. And that gray cat seemed to have rolled its eyes at his words. "Boss, what is this? I saw it at the side just now and picked it up. In case we need it later," Yi Qing replied. "In case we need it later?" Nangong Lai was puzzled. "We don't know how long we might have to stay here. We need to prepare more food." Yi Qing lied in all seriousness. "The Night Soul Beast. Damn you and all your ancestors. Food. Your whole family is food." Before the enraged Night Soul Beast could lash out, Yi Qingtang lowered her head and smiled at it. That smile completely stunned the Night Soul Beast, and it huddled inside Yi Qingtang's arms, not daring to move. "But it's so skinny. That's not enough meat," Lei Yin pondered. "Better than nothing," Yi Qing replied. The others didn't think much of this matter. They were just very curious over the sudden disappearance of that Night Soul Beast. On the side, the Spy Cloud Man was still fearful. He had just escaped certain death after all. Just as everyone was still feeling doubtful, a sudden movement could be seen in the undergrowth. Turning to look, a team of men riding on horses was approaching. The Spy Cloud Man's eyes lit up on seeing the team. Division Head Shi. Hearing the man's cries, the man leading the group halted. He finally saw the man. Peng Ji. Shi Shangfei noticed that the man was gravely injured and his face stiffened. He had his men lift him up. Yi Qingtang noticed that these men all bore the emblem of Spy Cloud. They must all belong to Spy Cloud. But few people dared to venture into the Evil Soul Forest. Why did Spy Cloud suddenly dispatch so many men here? Peng Ji finally shed his fear upon seeing his companions. He hurriedly told Shi Shangfei and his men about his encounter with the Night Soul Beast, and how over 100 Spy Cloud men died. Spy Cloud had dispatched several teams into the Evil Soul Forest, who entered the place via different entrances. Peng Ji's team had been unlucky, and was attacked by a Night Soul Beast soon after entering the Evil Soul Forest. He was the only one who survived, albeit with grievous injuries. "You encountered a Night Soul Beast? Where is it?" Shi Shangfei had heard of the Night Soul Beast, and he instinctively frowned. "It was planning to attack me and these guys. But somehow, it suddenly left. I had found it very strange, but on second thought, perhaps it sensed that you and your team were approaching, and so escaped first." Peng Ji came up with this surmisation after linking the two occurrences. Of all the teams dispatched by Spy Cloud this time, Shi Shangfei's powers were the most formidable. He was already a Divine Lord 5th Heaven level practitioner. On top of that, his team included 10 other Divine Lord practitioners. It could be said that they were the most powerful team in Spy Cloud, and the main combat force. The Night Soul Beast is nothing much after all. Shi Shangfei smirked. With his powers, he completely disregarded the Night Soul Beast. The dismal state of Peng Ji and the rest just proved that they had been too weak. Chapter 22-23. Nothing Much 2. Peng Ji naturally nodded in agreement. Shi Shangfei finally noticed Yi Qingtang and the rest standing by the side, and his brows furrowed slightly. After scanning their group, he realized that the strongest amongst them was just a Paragon 8 Heaven level. He relaxed a little. "Who are they?" Shi Shangfei asked. Peng Ji answered. "They are the people I met just now." Peng Ji wanted to say that they were a bunch of crazy folks. With their mediocre powers, they dared to go against a Night Soul Beast. If Shi Shangfei and his team had not arrived in time and chased off the Night Soul Beast, he would have ended up dying with this group of fools. "Who are you?" Shi Shangfei looked at Yi Qingtang and her group. As he spoke, his gaze naturally landed on Qin Feng. This youth was the highest level amongst them, Although he was just a paragon 8th heaven level, he should be the leader of the group. Qin Feng's face hardened, but he didn't answer. He just instinctively looked toward Yi Qing. Yi Qing replied, "We are just your usual bounty hunters." In the various mainlands, there were many times when people were willing to pay money for some affairs to be settled, or to seek out certain things. And so, there would naturally be people who were willing to carry out those tasks for the money. This group of people was called bounty hunters. At first, Spy Cloud was also a group of such people. But after their faction grew in power, they no longer dealt in such things. Shi Shangfei frowned slightly after hearing Yi Qingtang say that they were bounty hunters. He clearly did not think much of them. "This is not a place for you. If you don't wish to die, please leave." He was trying to chase Yi Qingtang and her group away. Yi Qingtang found it rather strange. Shi Shangfei was trying to chase them off, and it triggered her curiosity. And the fact that Spy Cloud would send so many people into the Evil Soul Forest, this was definitely no normal mission. Could it be? Had Spy Cloud discovered something inside the Evil Soul Forest? "We didn't plan to stay here long, but we have already been marked by the Night Soul Beast, and even if we dig up the entire Evil Soul Forest, we won't be able to escape its pursuit." Yi Qingtang gave a look of exasperation as she pinched the Night Soul Beast's ear. "The Night Soul Beast? Who would want to pursue you? Let me go. I never want to see you again." Shi Shangfei had of course heard of the myths surrounding the Night Soul Beast. As such, he did not suspect Yi Qingtang's words. But Peng Ji said, "Since we were fated to meet, I still advise you to leave here as soon as possible. You were lucky today. Although you encountered the Night Soul Beast, you also met our division head Shi. If he had not scared off that Night Soul Beast, you guys would probably already. If you don't leave now, that beast will definitely try to attack you again after we depart." Peng Ji really felt that this bunch of fools wouldn't survive for long in this Evil Soul Forest. They had just been lucky to meet Spy Cloud men, otherwise, they would have all been dead. Yi Qingtang didn't say anything to Peng Ji's warning. She just put on a conflicted and fearful expression. Only the Night Soul Beast in her arms knew. This person looked fearful, but she was completely calm on the inside. Otherwise, why wasn't it growing even a little? "Thank you," said Yi Qingtang. Peng Ji gave a small smile. His injuries were grave, and he couldn't be bothered with them anymore. Shi Shangfei led his team and left. But after traveling a short distance, Shi Shangfei suddenly asked, "Peng Ji, did you notice anything strange about those earlier folks?" Chapter 22-24. Nothing much. 3. Peng Ji knew of Spy Cloud's mission. After thinking it through carefully, he replied, "I didn't notice anything suspicious. When I first met them with the Night Soul Beast in pursuit, they were also scared witless. The only person who appeared nonchalant was the one who spoke to you just now. I heard those teenagers call him boss. Perhaps he's their leader. He is not powerful, but he still put on a brave front for those teenagers, claiming that he wanted to fight the Night Soul Beast." Peng Ji smirked. "Sacrificing one's life to save face. How foolish," Shi Shangfei commented. Peng Ji said, "He is really an ignorant fool. If they hadn't met Division Head Shi in your team, they would probably die horrible deaths. But Division Head Shi, if you think it's necessary, we can just..." Their mission in the Evil Soul Forest was extremely important. They heard that the other factions had already made their move. They wouldn't be able to bear the consequences if someone else got to it first. "Did you say that they had already come face to face with the Night Soul Beast?" Shi Shangfei asked. Peng Ji nodded. "Then we won't need to bother about them. The Night Soul Beast will settle them for us," Shi Shangfei replied. A ragtag bunch of Paragon-level teenagers. How could they hope to escape the pursuit of a Night Soul Beast? Likewise, Peng Ji couldn't help shuddering at the mention of the Night Soul Beast. He had also been marked by the Night Soul Beast. "Don't worry, just heal up. We will protect you." Shi Shangfei could see Peng Ji's fear. Peng Ji heaved a sigh of relief. With Division Head Shi here, I think the Night Soul Beast wouldn't dare to show its face. Shi Shangfei nodded before leading his team forward. On the other side, Lei Yin heaved a sigh of relief after Shi Shangfei and his men left. "We were lucky to have met those Spy Cloud men. Otherwise we would have died in the hands of that night soul beast. Lei Yin felt a lingering fear when he recalled the image of that night soul beast. It was only natural that he believed the night soul beast left, because it sensed Shi Shangfei and his team approaching. Do you really think the night soul beast fled because of them? Qin Feng raised one eyebrow at the still anxious Lei Yin. Lei Yin nodded. Fool. Qin Feng shot Lei Yin a look. Lei Yin was taken aback by the unexpected insult. Qin Feng explained. Although there were a few Divine Lord level people in that team, don't you remember that Peng Ji said his team also had a Divine Lord level practitioner? If a few Divine Lord level practitioners are enough to make a night soul beast retreat, then the evil soul forest would have long been trampled over by groups of powerful practitioners. A Divine Lord level was powerful in the eyes of humans, but it's nothing to a night soul beast. Amongst them, Qin Feng was the one closest to the Divine Lord level. He had once been just one step away from ascending to that level. How could he not know the disparity between the power of the Night Soul Beast and a Divine Lord level practitioner? Just a dozen Divine Lord level practitioners? Even if Shi Shangfei and his team were all at the Divine Lord level, they would still not be a match for the Night Soul Beast. Yi Qingtang looked pleased as she observed Qin Feng. He was indeed a descendant of the Qin family sword deity. He had pretty good brains. Lei Yin didn't know how to rebut, and didn't dare to insist. So he just kept quiet, but his face was full of indignance. Boss, there's danger everywhere here. And we don't know when the Night Soul Beast will appear again. It doesn't matter why it left. We won't be safe if we remain here. Yin Chen pointed out as he stepped forward. Chapter 22-25. Shameless, 1. Yi Qingtang nodded and walked down the path leading further into the evil soul forest, still holding the night soul beast. On the inside, however, she was still thinking about Spy Cloud's mission. In her previous life, the evil soul forest secret was exposed only 200 to 300 years later. But it was only because people had discovered the night soul beast's weakness did they truly start to uncover the secret behind the evil soul forest. But now, the various factions seemed to have an inkling of the evil soul forest secret and sent forth their men. Could it be Spy Cloud had also received the news? This was not a good thing in Yi Qingtang's opinion. She had come to the evil soul forest thinking that she was earlier than the others by a couple of 100 years, and so there wouldn't be any issues. But they would have some trouble if they collided with those other factions. Yi Qing was deep in thought, but Jing Zhe and the rest did not know what he was thinking. After experiencing the Night Soul Beast, they were even more fearful of the evil soul forest now. They instinctively followed close behind Yi Qing, whilst vigilantly observing their surroundings. Luckily they didn't meet any demons in this latter part of their journey. By the time night fell, they even discovered a cave. But that cave was filled with white bones covered with dark red bloodstains that looked freshly dried. The entire cave was filled with the thick stench of blood. The group immediately wanted to retreat on seeing the inside of the cave. Yi Qingtang was the only one whose eyes shone. She had noticed that after arriving at this cave, the night soul beast in her arms underwent a significant change. If she was right, this should be the night soul beast's cave. So she simply walked in. Lei Yin and the rest wanted to stop her, but didn't manage to in time. Boss, this is some demon's cave. If that demon returns and sees us, we will be in deep trouble again, Nangong Lai said. Who knew how many demons there were in this evil soul forest? Just that earlier night soul beast alone was enough to leave a lingering fear in their hearts. It's a cave, that's right, but it looks like it has been abandoned. Now that night has fallen, the smell of blood in here can mask our scent. We won't be discovered by that night soul beast here. Yi Qingtang explained in all seriousness as she surveyed the inside of the cave. Abandoned? The teenagers exchanged looks. Studying those freshly dried bloodstains, this place didn't look like it had just been abandoned. But the moment Yi Qing said the words, night soul beast, the hairs on those teenagers stood on end. Seeing that she was already prepared to settle down, they had no choice but to follow suit. Boss is so brave. Why do I feel that he is not scared of death at all? Lei Yin muttered softly, not hiding despite seeing the night soul beast. And now, she even dared to stay in some demon's cave. How brave must one be to behave like that? Yunshen heard Lei Yan's words but didn't react. He only looked at Yi Qing's profile from the back, the glow of admiration and respect growing more intense in his eyes. He already believed that Yi Qing came from some extraordinary background and might be some kind of secretly powerful hermit. His calm manner in a place like this evil soul forest only reinforced this belief. The night soul beast stared on as this group of pathetic humans barged into its cave. It was nearly driven mad with anger, but it had no choice but to remain in Yi Qingtang's hands. No energy to even struggle, fearing that she would smile at it, kidnapping it and taking over its home. These humans were even more shameless than a demon. Chapter 22-26. Shameless, too. Lei Yan and the others were still worried over what would happen if that demon came back. In the end, even long after night fell, no demon appeared. Could it be that Boss guessed correctly? This cave is truly abandoned? Lei Yan felt that Boss was either extremely lucky or extremely smart. The night soul beast, firmly held in Yi Qingtang's arms, could only silently roll its eyes. Still worried, the teenagers decided to take turns and stand guard throughout the night. In the end, nothing happened at all. The next morning, Yi Qingtang gathered them and told them that the best way to cut off the night soul beast's pursuit was to hunt the demons in this forest and cover themselves in the blood of those demons. This would dispel their scent and camouflage their presence amongst the other demons. In this way, the night soul beast wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and the other demons. The group all felt that the night soul beast was just like an axe hanging over their heads. They had no idea why Yi Qing had to bring them to this godforsaken place to train. But no matter how fearful they were, they had no choice but to comply for the sake of their own lives. They truly believed that their boss had brought them here as an evil prank. Yi Qingtang had heard many stories about the evil soul forest in her previous life, so she had a rather good understanding of the demons here. As long as they didn't venture too deep into the forest, they wouldn't encounter demons who were too powerful. She led Lei Yan and the rest to explore the area surrounding the cave. Finding a few mediocre demons, she forced Lei Yan and the rest to step forward and kill them. Fearful of the night soul beast's pursuit, the teenagers could only grit their teeth and charge forward. After their initial fear, they soon realized that if they cooperated, those vicious-looking demons were not as terrifying as they imagined. They didn't know it was because Yi Qingtang had already assessed the powers of those demons and determined that they could be handled by those teenagers. Pressured by the threat of death, Lei Yan and the rest had no choice but to give their best. Even so, the sun was setting by the time they finally killed those demons. Even though they won, the group looked extremely wretched. Nangonglai almost broke his arm during the fight, while Qin Feng was nearly bitten to death by one of the demons. Throughout all of the fights, Yi Qingtang remained at the side observing, but she did not intervene at all. She just carefully analyzed how those brats fought. Perhaps they themselves didn't realize that when they fought the first demon, they had been in truly dire straits. But after achieving a certain level of camaraderie and having gained some battle experience, their rate of injury lessened considerably toward the end. Because of Yi Qing's earlier advice, the dazed teenagers made several trips to haul those demon carcasses back to the cave. They dug a huge pit and drained the blood from those demons into it. Despite taking in the disgusting stench, they had no choice but to submerge themselves into the pit. I feel like I'm about to die. Boss, do we really need to soak inside this the entire night? I think I'm going to die from the smell. Lei Yan gazed tearfully at Yi Qing. The nauseating stench of demon's blood was truly unbearable. It was no different from rotting flesh. In the end, Yi Qing had them soak in this blood bath for an entire night. You can come out, but the night soul beast, Yi Qing spoke gravely. Lei Yan immediately kept his mouth shut. Chapter 22-27. Evil Fruit, 1. Nangonglai was smart and stuffed his nose so that he could bear things better. Qin Feng and Yunshen were also rather calm, But this was Jing Ze's first experience with this amount of blood, and he looked very conflicted. Mu Ziying was the only one who looked like it was completely normal to be soaking in a pool of demon blood. The reason Yi Qing had them soak inside the pool of demon blood was because the demons in this evil soul forest were very special. Their blood could nourish one's veins and tendons. It was several hundred years later, after the evil soul forest was completely conquered, that people realized this secret. Although Yi Qingtang had been guiding Lei Yan and the rest, and adjusting their cultivation methods, this was a good chance to strengthen their foundations. Especially since they had just endured a highly intense battle, and their bodies would be extra receptive to external nourishment. After Yi Qingtang saw that they had settled down, she also submerged herself into the blood pool. It must be said, the smell of demon blood was really exciting. Qin Feng and the others didn't know the true effects of this demon blood. They thought it was just to evade the night soul beast's pursuit. After a full day of battle, those teenagers were exhausted and soon fell asleep, while leaning against the side of the pit. The next morning, Yi Qingtang woke up those sleeping teenagers. Covered in that dreadful stench, Yi Qingtang chased them out of the cave, before they even had the chance to stretch their limbs, to continue hunting and killing even more demons. At this moment, they all wished for death. Several days passed in this way. Nangong Lai couldn't even bear to think about the kind of life they had been living over the past few days. The moment daylight broke, they would be chased out of the cave by Yi Qing to hunt and kill demons. When the sun set, they would then drag those demon carcasses back to soak in their blood. While they were soaking in the pool of blood, Yi Qing would also highlight unsatisfactory points during their battles that day. Every day, they would listen groggily to Yi Qing's lecturing, before finally succumbing to the sweet darkness of sleep. But they didn't know if it was just their imagination. Originally they thought that they would definitely be utterly exhausted after a few days, and end up being half dead. But every morning when they woke up, they would feel like the fatigue from the previous day had been wiped clean. Even their battles with those demons now felt much easier. Boss is right. Real battles are the key. I feel like I'm showing signs of a breakthrough. Nangong Lai could feel the spirit energy inside his body gradually increase. He felt very moved. In the past, he had been unable to focus on cultivation. But after being dragged to this godforsaken place by Yi Qing, he would be killed by the night soul beast if he didn't survive those battles. Under such circumstances, he wouldn't get the chance to slack off even if he wanted to. Nangong Lai was not alone. Jingze and the rest could also feel their powers increase by the day. Qin Feng's case was more special. His powers had been declining, but had now stabilized. Since entering the Netherworld Academy, this was the first time he felt his spirit energy increase. He could hardly believe it. After discovering the benefits, the teenagers didn't even need Yi Qing to urge them. Every morning, as if having gotten a shot of adrenaline, they would automatically go hunting and killing demons as a team. Yi Qingtang saw the changes in this group of brats, the hint of a smile surfacing in her eyes. One day, she didn't follow them on their hunt. Instead, she emerged from the blood pool to go to a nearby river to wash off the stench. But right after she emerged from the blood pool, a gut-wrenching pain spread across her chest. Chapter 22-28. Evil Fruit 2. Yi Qingtang's vision instantly turned blurry. It felt like something was about to burst out of her heart. That kind of piercing pain was enough to make Yi Qingtang break out in cold sweat. The Divine Phoenix seal is about to disappear. Yi Qingtang's brows were tightly furrowed. Cold sweat dripped down from her face. She had already previously sensed that the Divine Phoenix seal would soon dispel. And today, the feeling had grown in intensity. By now, she could more or less confirm that in less than a month, the Divine Phoenix seal would completely disappear. By then, she would not be able to control the heart of the heavenly Tao. I need to find the evil fruit as soon as possible. Yi Qingtang took a deep breath to suppress the intense pain in her chest. The evil fruit was the main reason why Yi Qingtang had come to the evil soul forest. In her previous life, although Yi Qingtang had never been to the evil soul forest, she had heard many legends surrounding it. This was where the fiend celestial died, and a place feared by all in the second domain. But danger and opportunity were two sides of the same coin. Where the fiend celestial fell, all his Dharma treasures were buried along with him. The precious treasures of a fiend celestial were enough to drive people mad. Everyone only knew that the treasures were inside the evil soul forest. But this place was expansive and filled with danger no matter where you looked. Few people dared to step into such a place. For many years, the various major factions in the second domain had tried to get the fiend celestial's hidden treasures. Spy Cloud, which Yi Qingtang had encountered earlier, was probably here for the fiend celestial's treasures. But the fiend celestial's treasures were not critical to Yi Qingtang now. What she needed was a type of fruit which grew inside the evil soul forest, the evil fruit. In her previous life, in the stories told about the evil soul forest, Yi Qingtang heard that although the fiend celestial died, its resentment remained in this evil soul forest, transforming this place into a land of grievances. In addition, other countless bitter souls were buried here. The fiend celestial's grievance enshrouded the place, tainting the entire forest. The resentment of the fiend celestial and those bitter souls nourished this vast piece of land, producing a strange fruit. It was called the evil fruit. Legend had it that the grievance concentrated inside the evil fruit was enough to suppress everything. It could suppress even the most fearsome demon in the world. When Yi Qingtang first heard of this evil soul forest, the idea had already formed in her mind. Unfortunately, in her previous life, she had been homeless and desolate. How could she compete against those major powers from the second domain to get at the treasures in the evil soul forest? But in this life, Yi Qingtang had the first mover's advantage. She had come to the evil soul forest way before those factions, just to see if she could have the chance to find the evil fruit and use it to seal up the heart of the heavenly Tao. But Yi Qingtang recollected her encounter with Spy Cloud yesterday. It was clear that the major factions in the second domain had never given up their exploration of the evil soul forest. Now that Spy Cloud had dispatched so many men here, it must be because they had discovered something. And Spy Cloud could not possibly be the only one who knew. Unfortunately, quite a number of major factions in the second domain had probably also joined this venture. Don't tell me they've already found the fiend celestial's treasures? Yi Qingtang really couldn't figure it out. Would Spy Cloud send so many men, if not for the fact that they had discovered the fiend celestial's hidden stash? It was hard for Yi Qingtang to be sure. But after night fell and Qin Feng and the rest returned, they more or less confirmed Yi Qingtang's surmisation. Boss, guess who saw this afternoon? Nangong Lai asked mysteriously the moment he saw Yi Qingtang. Who? Yi Qingtang asked. Void Door and Falling Water Pavilion, Nangong Lai answered. Chapter 22-29, Evil Fruit 3. These two were very powerful factions in the second domain. They were even more powerful than the Crimson League. First Spy Cloud, and now Void Door and Falling Water Pavilion. All three of them appearing in the evil soul forest at the same time. It couldn't possibly be just an aimless treasure hunt. Yi Qingtang believed that she had guessed correctly earlier. How many people were there? Yi Qingtang wanted more confirmation. Quite a number. We didn't dare to reveal ourselves, and only managed to observe them from afar. At least 1,000 from each side. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. Two major factions dispatching so many men at the same place. Did you hear anything? Yi Qingtang asked. Nangong Lai and the others shook their heads. But Mu Ziying suddenly spoke up. I thought I heard them say something about some treasure. What? Yi Qingtang was taken aback. Yunchen looked at Mu Ziying strangely. Little senior sister, how did you overhear that? Mu Ziying was not the most powerful in the group. Even Qin Feng didn't manage to overhear those men. How did Mu Ziying manage to know? The girl lowered her head to look at the puppet in her arms. It heard them. Mu Ziying could now control her puppet within a 1-mile radius. Unlike humans, the puppet had no aura or scent. It could go near those two factions without being detected. Did it hear anything else? Yi Qingtang asked. Mu Ziying took some time to think about it. They seem to have found something, but it also appears that there is some conflict. Everything was very unclear. Mu Ziying's words gave Yi Qingtang's heart a slight jolt. It looked like she had guessed correctly, but in her previous life, the evil soul forest secret was only completely exposed 200 to 300 years later. Why had they already discovered the location of the treasures now? But Yi Qingtang soon understood the situation. Discovering the location of the hidden treasure didn't mean that they could get at it. The Fiend Celestial's tomb was full of dangers, and even after knowing its location, the various factions probably spent hundreds of years before they could finally achieve their goal. On top of that, there were the demons and night soul beasts in the evil soul forest as obstacles. It was only natural they wouldn't obtain the treasure so fast. At this thought, Yi Qingtang hurriedly said to Mu Ziying and the rest, "For the time being, don't go out over the next few days." It was likely that the various factions had just discovered the location of the Fiend Celestial's tomb. Lei Yin and the rest had just come to train. Who knew what would happen if they bumped into each other? Luckily, Yi Qingtang had already taken some precautions. She did not let them go near the core of the evil soul forest, and so it was less likely for them to be discovered by the other factions. Even so, Yi Qingtang didn't wish to encounter any of the factions. Once the Fiend Celestial's tomb was discovered, the evil soul forest would become a major battlefield for the various factions. "Pack up your things today. I will lead you out of the evil soul forest tomorrow night," Yi Qingtang said solemnly. "Huh, we are leaving now. But that night soul beast. You have soaked in the blood enough now. It will be fine," Yi Qingtang answered. Just in case, they had no choice but to temporarily halt their training. Yi Qingtang didn't wish for this bunch of brats to get embroiled in the fight for the Fiend Celestial's treasure. After hearing Yi Qing's words, conflicted feelings arose in the hearts of Lei Yan and the rest. But they didn't say anything. Since Yi Qing had instructed them to do so, they would comply. The brats pondered over this matter for a few more seconds before going to settle the spoils of today's battle. Meanwhile, Yi Qingtang's heart grew a little heavier. She had to get that evil fruit as soon as possible. Chapter 2230, Mental Demons. 1. Yi Qingtang would not remain too long on this mainland because of the Temple of Paragon. She was trying to make use of the Inter-Academy competition and the Netherworld Academy's Wind Calming Pearl to leave this mainland. The matter of the first domain had already been settled. Yi Qingtang's most pressing issue now was that heart of the heavenly Tao which could bring her trouble at any time. The only clue that could unravel this mystery was her mother, the Dragon Emperor clan. Her mother had been missing for a long time, and the Dragon Emperor clan had been trying to find traces of her mother all this while. Since Yi Qingtang was in the second domain now, she wanted to visit the Dragon Emperor clan and try to see if she could find her mother. But before that, Yi Qingtang needed to get that evil fruit and seal the heart of the heavenly Tao. Although Yi Qingtang said that she wanted to bring Lei Yan and the rest out of the evil soul forest, they weren't really going to leave. After all, their training had yet to be completed. Although every one of them had improved, they still had a fair degree to go before being able to enter the Inter-Academy competition. Yi Qingtang planned to bring them to the borders of the evil soul forest, far away from the core region. The various factions had already entered the evil soul forest. They shouldn't bump into them at the borders. Having realized how much they had progressed over the past few days, those brats were now reluctant to leave this place, which they had been desperate to escape from earlier. The feeling of their powers continuously improving made their blood surge with excitement. They were at that energetic, vibrant age, which youth wouldn't wish to keep improving their powers. Qin Feng approached Yi Qing late at night. "Teacher Yi." Qin Feng seldom came to talk to Yi Qing. Yi Qing glanced at him. "What's the matter?" Qin Feng looked somewhat conflicted. He did not know how he felt about this teacher. Previously, he had already lost all hope and allowed himself to descend into an endless abyss. But unexpectedly, after training under Yi Qing, he had started to progress. Qin Feng said, "My powers are increasing." Yi Qing smiled. "That's a good thing, right?" Qin Feng shook his head. "Since I entered the Netherworld Academy, my powers have been deteriorating nonstop. Many teachers have tried all sorts of ways, but to no avail. Likewise, he had also given up. Yi Qing wanted him to plant flowers, and he mechanically complied. He was just passing the time, waiting to be kicked out of the Netherworld Academy. He had heard Yi Qing's teachings to Jingzhe and the rest. He could tell that this teacher was different from the others. Apart from himself, even someone like Lei Yin kept improving under Yi Qing. And so now, Qin Feng did not believe that his increase in powers had nothing to do with Yi Qing. I want to know, how did you do it? Yi Qing looked at Qin Feng. He was a man of few words, but was a clear-headed youth. If not for the fact that she owed Qin Zhuo one, she might not have spent so much effort on Qin Feng. The Qin family has a powerful killer bloodline. But do you know why, apart from Qin Zhuo, it has been difficult for the Qin family to produce another powerful practitioner? Yi Qing asked. Qin Feng shook his head. Yi Qing chuckled. The killer bloodline is also the reason behind the Qin family's decline. Qin Feng was taken aback. Since he was a young boy, he had been taught that the killer bloodline was very powerful. But this was the first time he was hearing that the killer bloodline was the reason behind the Qin family's decline. Chapter 2231, Mental Demons 2. Teacher, please explain it to me. Qin Feng requested in a solemn voice. Do you know why after you came to me, I didn't teach you any skills? Instead, I had you go and plant flowers? Qin Feng shook his head. Yi Qing replied simply, because of mental demons. Qin Feng was taken aback. A sliver of embarrassment flashed across his face, as if he was sheepish about being found out. The killer bloodline is very powerful, but it is a bloodline with very potent killer characteristics. It can bring you unfathomable power, but it can also bring you unshakable mental demons, Yi Qing continued. In the beginning, when the Qin family first became famous, the killer bloodline had been put on a pedestal. But after several decades of great repute, the family suddenly declined. Thereafter, although the family produced quite a number of strong practitioners, most of them died young. No one knew the reason behind this. After the decline of the powerful practitioner from the Qin family's first generation, the Qin Zhuo's status in the second domain became increasingly lower. In the end, after being subdued for thousands of years, they finally produced Qin Zhuo, who led the Qin family to the peak again. But after Qin Zhuo's death, the Qin family was unable to find another powerful practitioner to continue his legacy. The moment mental demons appear, there are only two endings. The first is to forever be tormented by the mental demons and have one's lifespan shortened. The second is to experience a major decline in your practice and powers. Yi Qing explained, I don't know how much you know about the killer bloodline, but if I am not wrong, your ancestors should have already found out that the killer bloodline can result in mental demons. And so they implemented some changes and altered your situation so that your lifespan wouldn't be shortened by mental demons. However, this also resulted in the possibility that you will find it difficult to progress to higher levels. The watershed line should be at the Divine Lord stage. In her previous life 100 years into the future, the Qin family was completely ruined and disappeared from the world. Yi Qingtang just happened to have heard someone mention that it was due to the Qin family's killer bloodline. The killer bloodline was a double-edged sword. The more powerful it was, the higher the chances of you developing mental demons. The consequences included death after descending into complete madness, or an absolute mental breakdown. The Qin family ancestors must have been afraid of the Qin family being eliminated by the killer bloodline, and so implemented some changes. But Qin Zhuo, Qin Feng said with uncertainty. Qin Zhuo was an exception. His willpower was much stronger than your usual person. Only someone with enough determination can restrain the mental demons. Yi Qing explained. In the Cursed Land, even in his withered state, Qin Zhuo was still able to maintain his nature. This was definitely not something that ordinary people could do. So, Teacher Yi, you had me plant flowers to cultivate my willpower, to decrease the killer aura in my body? Qin Zhuo asked. Yi Qing nodded. If you can control your mental demons, You can become the second Qinjua. You can even surpass him and become the most powerful practitioner in the Qin family. The words made Qin Feng's eyes flash. Without saying another word, he turned and left. Yi Qing suddenly spoke up again. If you can subdue your mental demons, I will give you a present. A present which should have been returned to the Qin family. Yi Qingtang had not forgotten Qinjua's request. But she hoped that the person who inherited the sword would not tarnish Qinjua's great name. Qin Feng was taken aback. He looked at Yi Qing with an increasingly conflicted expression. He had only known about mental demons not long ago. He looked at Yi Qing in confusion. Why did Yi Qingtang know so much about the Qin family bloodline? Even more so than him, a descendant of the Qin family. Chapter 2232. A Gathering 1. I will thank boss for this present in advance then. Qin Feng cupped his fists in respect at Yi Qing. Yi Qingtang was slightly taken aback. She couldn't help smiling at him. This kid had a backbone. By accepting this gift, he was already determined that he wouldn't be defeated by mental demons? At this point, Yi Qingtang had no idea that her conversation with Qin Feng that night would create an elite, indomitable clan. The Qin family, which should have faded into oblivion, would soon welcome a new glorious era. The next morning, to prevent those brats from encountering the other factions, she had them practice to improve and stabilize their abilities first, instead of leaving immediately. Yi Qingtang herself quietly ventured inward of the Evil Soul Forest, to another place to probe the situation. Although she did not meet any factions, Yi Qingtang discovered quite a number of demon carcasses in the forest, as well as some human corpses. It was clear that those factions had already ventured toward the core region of the Evil Soul Forest, and killed off the demons they encountered on the way. Yi Qingtang did not know exactly how many people came this time, but she estimated that with so much commotion, humans might not be the only ones here. She estimated that the other alien races might have also come forth. Taking care as she followed the traces of the fighting, Yi Qingtang slowly inched her way into the core region. She was not that interested in the Fiend Celestial's treasure. The only thing she wanted was the evil fruit, but she did not know if the evil fruit was inside the Fiend Celestial's tomb. Yi Qingtang followed those tracks and ventured into the deeper regions. The entire time, the Night Soul Beast remained firmly in Yi Qingtang's arms. As she traveled deeper, the surrounding air took on a sticky feeling. Wafts of death energy could be smelled in the air. The further she traveled, the more corpses could be seen. Bodies of demons, humans, beasts, and the various alien races were strewn all over. Those who had just lost their lives would be gradually swallowed by the dim Evil Soul Forest, going back into the Great Earth, to become part of this forest. Just from the sight of this, it could be seen just how many factions were venturing into the Evil Soul Forest. Coming here, Yi Qingtang never expected to encounter so many major factions invading the Evil Soul Forest. It looks like there are no Night Soul Beasts carcasses. Yi Qingtang scanned the area. She had seen many demon corpses, but no Night Soul Beasts at all. It was rumored that the Night Soul Beasts were the guardians of this forest, and had an existence that made the outside world tremble in fear. But apart from the one in Yi Qingtang's arms, she had not seen other Night Soul Beasts. It was all very strange. Where are all your fellow beasts? The Evil Soul Forest is being invaded by various factions. Why haven't your comrades come out to protect the forest? Yi Qingtang looked down at the Night Soul Beast in her arms. The Night Soul Beast rolled its eyes at Yi Qingtang, displaying no intention of answering. Just as Yi Qingtang was feeling bewildered, the vibration of subtle spirit energy appeared in the air somewhere in front. She followed that energy to take a look. In the deeper regions of the Evil Soul Forest, it was all deadly quiet. But a large number of factions had gathered here. The low roars of a massive beast could be heard. A dark gold carriage was erected on its spine, with a small figure hidden inside. Chapter 2233. A Gathering, 2. Behind the massive beast was a dense army of soldiers in black armor. They were garbed in full black, revealing only pairs of cold eyes. Black Moon Palace? Yi Qingtang couldn't help being shocked by the sight of those black-armored soldiers. The Black Moon Palace was a top faction in the second domain. Even the powerful Crimson League would have to quietly stand aside to them. And the Black Moon Palace was not part of this mainland. But to think that they had appeared here? Eyes scanning the area, Yi Qingtang saw that the number of factions which had gathered here had already far surpassed her expectations. Spy Cloud, Falling Water Pavilion, Void Door. The number of factions which Yi Qingtang could recognize already numbered in the dozens. Not to mention those whom she had never heard of. Is the information released by the Temple of Paragon accurate? That the Fiend Celestial's tomb is really here? An elder from the Falling Water Pavilion commented as he scanned the crowd. Since it was released by the Temple of Paragon, it must be correct. Another Void Door member replied. Yi Qingtang was taken aback. The Temple of Paragon? What did this have to do with the Temple of Paragon? In her previous life, she had never heard of the Temple of Paragon having an interest in the Evil Soul Forest. It was all very puzzling. This matter was developing in a very bizarre manner. In her previous life, the various factions did not make such a major campaign against the Evil Soul Forest. But this time was different from her previous life. Since the Temple of Paragon pointed out the location of the Fiend Celestial's tomb, it must be accurate. The Temple of Paragon has already announced that anyone who can enter the Fiend Celestial's tomb and hand over the Fiend Celestial's eye to them, they would receive a reward from the temple. All those at present were top factions from the second domain. Every single one of them were dominant forces in the mainland. But now, they had all gathered here in hopes of getting a reward from the mighty Temple of Paragon. They wanted something inside the Fiend Celestial's tomb. The Fiend Celestial's eye? How did the Temple of Paragon know that this thing exists here? Although I don't know how, since they know it, that knowledge must be accurate. The legendary Fiend Celestial's eye can see through all disguises. It can see through skin and flesh, through one's soul. What does the Temple of Paragon want with the Fiend Celestial's eye? Everyone was well aware of the high status of the Temple of Paragon in the second domain. They were already very interested in the Fiend Celestial's hidden treasure. Now the Temple of Paragon had publicly released the location of the Fiend Celestial's tomb. It was a massive opportunity to anyone here who could obtain that Fiend Celestial's eye. Whether it was the Fiend Celestial's hidden treasure or the Fiend Celestial's eye, it was very attractive to them. If they could obtain either one of those treasures and make use of the Fiend Celestial's eye to establish good relations with the Temple of Paragon, it would be a very good thing. Everyone at present had the same thoughts. Yi Qingtang heard the crowd's discussions. She was shocked, especially after hearing the part about the Fiend Celestial's eye. She had wondered why the various factions had suddenly invaded the Evil Soul Forest so many years in advance. So, it was because of the Temple of Paragon. And that Fiend Celestial's eye. Yi Qingtang was silent. If she guessed correctly, the Temple of Paragon wanted the Fiend Celestial's eye to use it on her. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang had not been captured by the Temple of Paragon. As a result, the temple had no use for the Fiend Celestial's eye. But things were different in this life. Chapter 2234. A Gathering 3. Although Yi Qingtang had escaped, the Temple of Paragon remained suspicious of her identity. Yi Qingtang never dreamed that her appearance would change the history of the Evil Soul Forest. Looking at the massive factions gathering here, Yi Qingtang finally understood why they were suddenly investing so many resources into the Evil Soul Forest. Although Yi Qingtang had lingered in the Evil Soul Forest for a long, she had yet to find the evil fruit. As such, she was 80% certain that the evil fruit was inside the Fiend Celestial's tomb. If these people all entered the Fiend Celestial's tomb, Yi Qingtang could more or less bid farewell to the evil fruit. But a treasure that required so many people to raid the tomb. Yi Qingtang believed that the difficulty level must be exceptional. The only piece of luck was that she had yet to see any signs of people from the Temple of Paragon. Otherwise, she would have to immediately flee. Just as Yi Qingtang was pondering over how to sneak around amongst the various factions, a tiny figure suddenly appeared in Yi Qingtang's line of vision. Amongst the factions, Mu Ziying's hands were bound. Trapped in the crowd. Her face was filled with bruises and extremely pallid. Her puppet was in a wretched state and tied to her waist. What happened? Why is Mu Ying here? Yi Qingtang was astonished. She clearly remembered, especially making sure that they didn't venture too far from the cave, before heading out herself. Why had Mu Ziying been captured? Yi Qingtang saw the faction who had caught Mu Ziying. Those are men from Rising Dragon Island? The Rising Dragon Island was an independent island in the second domain. It was not very big, but very isolated from the rest of the world. The Rising Dragon Island was extremely mysterious to the outsiders. Rumor had it that they were an organization of assassins. As long as you could pay, they could kill anyone you wanted to be killed. But the price was set by the Rising Dragon Island. Money, treasures, elixirs, sometimes even your own life. One had to satisfy the Rising Dragon Island men's demands if you wished to obtain their help. Yi Qingtang felt that things were not good at all now that Mu Ziying had fallen into their hands. If Mu Ziying was here, where were Nangong Lai and the rest? What had happened? Rising Dragon Island, don't tell me you are also on this evil soul forest mission? Shi Shangfei led his men forward. He surveyed the Rising Dragon Island men and noticed Mu Ziying. Surprise flashed across his eyes. He had seen this girl before. The Rising Dragon Island and Spy Cloud were both in the trading profession, just in different directions. Nevertheless, they had some past dealings in some form of relationship. A black-clad man who was the Rising Dragon Island's leader glanced at Mu Ziying before saying, "None of Spy Cloud's business." Shi Shangfei kept silent, but a member of a beast race who was over 3 meters in height narrowed his eyes. He sized up Mu Ziying. This girl looks somewhat familiar. Isn't she the one whom the Puppet Emperor is giving a reward to whoever finds her? Everyone reacted on hearing the words Puppet Emperor. The Puppet Emperor was a legendary practitioner in the second domain. His powers were not that remarkable, but the most fearsome thing about him was his puppet skills. Chapter 2235. Puppet Emperor. 1. Legend had it that the Puppet Emperor could control an army of 1,000,000 puppets. Many royal powers had once hired the Puppet Emperor's great puppet army in their wars. One person possessing the power of 1,000,000. The ferocity of this great puppet army was truly terrifying. I thought that finding people and items is the specialty of Spy Cloud. I didn't expect Rising Dragon Island to also be good at this. The Beast Race member chuckled. The Rising Dragon Island took no prisoners. They only killed. What? Spy Cloud is also interested in this transaction? The leader of the Rising Dragon Island lifted his brows slightly. Shi Shangfei smiled. Spy Cloud and Rising Dragon Island have always kept out of each other's way. I just happened to have seen this kid earlier. I remembered that there were several other teenagers with her. Did you guys? Spy Cloud and Rising Dragon Island were both businesses. It was just that they dealt in different things. Spy Cloud was good at finding treasures, while Rising Dragon Island was good at killing. The Rising Dragon Island has very high prices, the Rising Dragon Island man said coldly. Shi Shangfei understood. The Rising Dragon Island's target was this little girl. As for the others, if no one was paying, the Rising Dragon Island would not even deign to kill them. Yi Qingtang's anxious heart relaxed a little on hearing the Rising Dragon Island man's words. But she was very shocked as to how Mu Ziying was linked to the Puppet Emperor. The Puppet Emperor was giving a reward for finding Mu Ziying? What was going on? Yi Qingtang recalled everything about Mu Ziying and realized that she seldom spoke about her own family clan. And Yi Qingtang had heard of the Puppet Emperor before. He was the most powerful puppet master in the second domain. An emperor who specialized in puppets. The Puppet Emperor had a very strange character. He only interacted with others via a puppet proxy, and no one knew what he actually looked like. Yi Qingtang had just arrived at the second domain, and didn't notice the Puppet Emperor's bounty. For a moment there, Yi Qingtang could not understand the reason. Nevertheless, Yi Qingtang looked at the wretched-looking Mu Ziying. She felt like a huge rock was pressing down on her heart. The Rising Dragon Island was not a power which Yi Qingtang could go against. Although she was a distance away, Yi Qingtang could confirm that the Rising Dragon Island's leader was at least at the Divine Lord Fourth Heaven level. It was not realistic to think of snatching something from the hands of such a powerful practitioner. But how could Yi Qingtang leave Mu Ziying behind? Yi Qingtang furrowed her brows tightly as she quietly gritted her teeth. Thereafter, her eyes landed on the night soul beast in her arms. Suddenly, a childish voice rang out from the carriage on the massive beast amongst the Black Moon Palace team. "Are you guys done?" The voice was soft and childish, but held a sliver of incongruous maliciousness. This period of hibernation for the night soul beasts only happens once every 1,000 years. If you guys continue wasting time talking, you will all end up as food for the night soul beasts when they wake up. The childish voice was full of ridicule, but everyone instantly quietened down. Yi Qingtang's heart quivered at the words of that Black Moon Palace child. Period of hibernation? She instinctively glanced down at the night soul beast in her arms. It was only then that she finally understood. Chapter 2236, Puppet Emperor 2. Yi Qingtang had already found it strange that over the past few days in the expansive Evil Soul Forest, the only night soul beast she had encountered was the one in her arms. The various factions' sudden invasion of the Evil Soul Forest was similarly bizarre. Although much blood had been spilled with countless bodies strewn across the ground, things were not as terrible as Yi Qingtang would have imagined. These factions had dispatched several powerful practitioners, but only a few were truly the elite. This was not at all like the expected arrangements for invading the Evil Soul Forest. Usually, a 1,000-man team stepping into the Evil Soul Forest would just be a suicide mission. But today, quite a huge number had managed to arrive at the core region of the Evil Soul Forest. They had probably received news that most of the night soul beasts were in hibernation, and were taking advantage of this time to invade the forest. At this thought, Yi Qingtang quickly drew back a good distance with the night soul beast in her arms. She found a safe spot at the foot of a mountain, before placing the night soul beast on the ground. The night soul beast glared at this human, whose face was full of ill intention. Its teeth ached with hatred. "Don't glare at me like that. Let's make a deal, how about that?" Yi Qingtang looked at the night soul beast. The night soul beast just rolled its eyes at Yi Qingtang. Deal. If this human hadn't discovered its weakness, it would have already swallowed her alive. Aren't the night soul beasts the guardians of the Evil Soul Forest? Now you've already seen that many factions are invading. I think the other night soul beasts are in hibernation now, so you are the only one awake, right? Yi Qingtang explained patiently. The night soul beast's eyes shifted. "I am not interested in the Fiend Celestial's tomb, but those men have captured my friend. You also saw the situation. You want to protect the Fiend Celestial's tomb while I want to save my friend. Why don't we join forces?" Yi Qingtang smiled. There was only one way to save Mu Ziying. Although risky, she had no choice but to take a bet. The night soul beast sized up Yi Qingtang, a sliver of panic surfacing in its eyes. No one on the outside knew about the night soul beast's hibernation period. But with the participation of the Temple of Paragon, the Evil Soul Forest was now in grave danger. But this mere human wished to join forces with it? And against so many powerful factions? What a joke! The night soul beast had little regard for Yi Qingtang's powers. But it was in her possession now, and it had no choice but to keep humble. The night soul beast narrowed its eyes. As long as it could temporarily escape from this human's clutches, it could immediately swallow her, and then go and kill off all those who dared to invade the Fiend Celestial's tomb. The night soul beast pondered for a short while before finally nodding at Yi Qingtang. The hint of a smile flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes. The night soul beast quietly concealed the murderous intent in its eyes. It would kill her the moment she turned around. Just as the night soul beast was secretly preparing to attack, Yi Qingtang said as she continued to stare at it. "Before we join forces, it's best that we sign a contract first." The night soul beast. "What? Contract?" The night soul beast was stunned. "For you to join forces with me, you naturally can't remain in this state. But once you recover your powers, I will not be a match for you. By then, I will be helpless if you wish to just kill me off, right? After all, she had been able to capture this night soul beast only by catching it unawares. By releasing it now, it would be like unleashing a tiger from its cage. Chapter 2237, Puppet Emperor 3. The night soul beast immediately shook its head and put on an innocent look. No way Yi Qingtang would trust it. Signing a contract is beneficial to both you and me. If you are unwilling, I will leave now with you. The night soul beast turned as if it did not care about Yi Qingtang's threat at all. It knew that she wanted to save someone. After all, that human girl was still in the clutches of those men. The night soul beast was sure that Yi Qingtang wouldn't dare to leave just like that. But before the night soul beast could react further, Yi Qingtang picked it up and appeared as if she was really going to leave with it. The night soul beast was stunned. At this moment, it suddenly recalled those men it had encountered earlier in the evil soul forest. Those humans were from the same group. But after meeting it, they had scattered, not caring about whether their companions were dead or alive. Some even injured their own companions in their bid to flee, trying to make use of them to slow down the beast's pursuit. Yi Qingtang said she wanted to save her friend, but it was clear to the beast that she cared more about her own life. The night soul beast was not sure about all this. Although Yi Qingtang might be willing to ditch her friend, the night soul beast couldn't let these people invade the Fiend Celestial's tomb. Woo! The night soul beast quickly grabbed Yi Qingtang's arm. What? Regretting it now? Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows. The night soul beast gritted its teeth. Damn this devious human. It seems that you are the one begging to sign a contract with me now, Yi Qingtang said. The night soul beast gritted its teeth so hard that they nearly cracked. If not for the sake of protecting the tomb, would it sign a contract with a human? And such a weak human. In the past, it could squash a human of this level with a single foot. But now, what an insult. Yi Qingtang quietly steadied her own heart when she saw that the night soul beast had taken the bait. She signed a contract with it. Even with this contract, the night soul beast was too powerful, and Yi Qingtang would not be able to make it do all her bidding. At the very most, she could only ensure that it would not do anything to harm her. However, that was enough. The major factions were gradually losing patience. They only knew that the night soul beasts were now in hibernation, but did not know when they would awaken. Battling night soul beasts was something that no one wanted. Until now, no matter how powerful a practitioner was, no one had been a match for the night soul beast. The best result was to drag one's gravely injured body back home, lucky to be alive. Let's not delay any longer. The Fiend Celestial's tomb is inside this mountain, so the entrance should be located as soon as possible. A falling water pavilion elder spoke gravely. The various powers had one common goal now. The Fiend Celestial's tomb was a major lure to them. Although everyone looked very harmonious now, the real bloodshed would occur once the Fiend Celestial's tomb was found. Now they were just trying to leverage off each other. Everyone nodded and started to search for the tomb's entrance. After following Shi Shangfei, Peng Ji would glance at the captured Mu Ziying now and then. That's the Rising Dragon Island's own business. Don't be nosy if you don't wish to die. Shi Shangfei could see what Peng Ji was thinking. Peng Ji quietly shrank back and said hurriedly, Division Head Shi, I don't have other intentions. It's just that I happened to have met her earlier. I just find it strange as to why the Rising Dragon Island would capture her. Is she really the one whom the Puppet Emperor is searching for? But I remembered that the Puppet Emperor's notice clearly stated that she was to be brought to him completely unharmed? Chapter 2238, Puppet Emperor 4. Spy Cloud also had a copy of the Puppet Emperor's notice. Peng Ji had seen it, but Spy Cloud did not accept that task. The Puppet Emperor was not the one who hired the Rising Dragon Island, Shi Shangfei said. Not the Puppet Emperor? Peng Ji was shocked. Shi Shangfei replied, Many years ago, the Puppet Emperor had a daughter, but the two of them were in conflict and she left home. Do you remember that 11 years ago, when the puppet emperor flew into a rage and massacred the Great Jun dynasty. The Great Jun dynasty was powerful in the second domain. Even surrounded by the various major factions, it stood its ground and had its own territory. But 11 years ago, the flourishing Great Jun dynasty was in ashes within a short month. Over 300 small towns were reduced to dust, and the entire population of hundreds of thousands of citizens all died. I remember. Peng Ji nodded. The puppet emperor was the one who did that. Shi Shengfei stated. Peng Ji was stunned. It was the puppet emperor who destroyed the Great Jun dynasty. The puppet emperor's daughter was in a romantic relationship with the Great Jun dynasty's king. The puppet emperor objected, but his daughter ignored his wishes and married the king. But in just a few years, the Great Jun dynasty's king found another woman and killed his first wife. This matter was kept very hush-hush and not many people knew. But Spy Cloud had many ears on the ground, and that was how Shi Shengfei knew of it. Peng Ji gasped. Did the Great Jun dynasty's king go mad? He dared to do that to the puppet emperor's daughter? Shi Shengfei shook his head. He had no idea of the woman's background. That was why he dared to act as such. A scornful smile tugged at the corners of Shi Shengfei's lips. This Great Jun dynasty king, he dared to kill the puppet emperor's only daughter. He truly had a death wish. The puppet emperor only had that one daughter his entire life. He had damaged his reproductive abilities from the cultivation of the puppet skills, and could no longer bear more children. The death of his only daughter meant cutting off his bloodline. But luckily, in recent years, the puppet emperor learned that his daughter had given birth to a child. But it turns out the child was still very young when she was exiled from the Great Jun dynasty after her mother was murdered. No one knew if she was dead or alive. If I am correct, that little girl should be the puppet emperor's long-lost granddaughter. The puppet emperor only has this one remaining descendant. Of course he wouldn't want her harmed. But his enemies won't be so kind. They would never let go of this chance to target the puppet emperor's one weakness. Shi Shengfei narrowed his eyes. Spy Cloud didn't accept the puppet emperor's business because of other considerations. Those powers who could make an enemy of the puppet emperor were not people that Spy Cloud was willing to provoke. Peng Ji gaped but didn't say anything. He just secretly glanced at Mu Ziying again. Mu Ziying was utterly expressionless now. Her hands were bound behind her, her face as impassive as if she was a puppet herself. Her lids were slightly lowered, not crying, not making a fuss. Those Rising Dragon Island men, who were guarding over her, found this quite strange. Their leader said that they had let her companions go because they were not worth killing. That was just bullshit. Those brats were able to escape with their lives only because this girl had threatened them with her own life. She said that if they dared to hurt any one of them, she would commit suicide by biting her own tongue. That was the only reason why those brats were still alive. If you are obedient, we won't make things difficult for you. But if you disobey, we can turn back any time and skin those friends of yours. The black-clad leader of the Rising Dragon Island warned her in a chilly voice. Mu Ziying lifted her eyes, her blood-stained little face completely devoid of expression. Those pitch-black eyes could make one's hair stand on end. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.